Okay, I'm here, everybody. Oh, let me close my door. Wait. Blues, thank you for the 2 months. I'm just kind of vibing right now, you know? I mean, it's either this or I do Barack Obama. Wait, she did the song that was used in iPod commercials? I remember those. I remember the iPod commercials. When your iced coffee kicks in. No, I'm waiting for mine too. I'm waiting for my iced coffee to kick in. Okay. You know what? Honestly, music just kind of hits differently in the morning. I usually put on more of a chill playlist for morning streams. It's a real vibe. I'll be honest, I only got into the song when I saw that one TikTok of someone making a satire dance to it. What is the playlist? So I am a big fan of using Spotify radio. I'm sorry. I wish I were an amazing curator. It makes me very sad, to be honest, whenever I admit that I don't I don't handpick every single song every time. A lot of times I'll pick a song. I'll go to song radio. I'll kind of check out the playlist, maybe browse through a couple songs, be like, yeah, this is the vibe. And then hit play. They're slipping AI songs into these playlists and radios. I'm just going to be like Hassan's mom now and be like, I don't care. I like it. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right, you guys. So we got some stuff to do before I am jumping onto Zoom with the lovely Kat Tenbarge, who I'm going to be talking to her about a multi-series that she wrote for her Substack, Spitfire News. It's 3 parts. The first part is about Reddit suppression. The second part is about mainstream media manipulation. And then the third part looks at misogyny, identity, and women who are victims of the above mentioned things. And the article, or she wrote the series in response to the, all the allegations and lawsuits and media storm around Blake Lively. But because it's Kat and she's amazing, she, of course, her purpose in writing this is to identify the broader effects that these issues have on victims who are not Blake Lively, who are not, privileged and well-resourced and white and beautiful celebrities. So I'm really excited to get into chatting with her about that. There's like this circle, and it's like Kat Tenbarge, Matt Bernstein, Taylor Lorenz. It's like people who I have talked to individually on stream, because we all talk about these same things. Like Matt and I are both content creators. Well, Taylor is too, but Taylor and Kat are journalists. I also reached out to Olay because she had them on recently. I was like, you know what? I'd love to bring Olay in to talk about the reaction to Sean Combs and DDG and Chris Brown, and how there is like this specific thing with black male abusers where the women who they have abused as black women do not want to get initially law enforcement involved because of the history of how the criminal justice system exploits and abuses black people, but that there's a line between recognizing that and then protecting abusers. And like a lot of the discourse that I've seen online it's like defending abusive men because of this history of how the criminal justice system is wielded against black men. But these men are still abusers, and that cannot be protected. You have to get Olay on stream. Yes, I would love to. Olay is, she is a lawyer. She is a content creator. She's very vocal about these topics as well. So I was like, oh, I'd love to have her on. Is it part of the anti-snitch? That thing too, where it's like, oh my God, the amount of posts I've seen calling Kid Cudi a snitch because he testified at the federal trial where Sean Combs has been accused of very serious federal charges. And everyone's like, he's a snitch. That's snitch behavior. DDG, the guy at Streamer Uni. Unfortunately, the guy at Streamer Uni. Alopecia, just know that your message was deleted for your own good. Shh. I have decided I will never call the cops because I have a biracial daughter at home and I'm afraid they might harm her. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a reality for people of color, for Black people and other people of color, where they recognize that calling the cops can result in harm to the people who call the cops. How many stories have we seen of a Black person calling the police and then they end up getting shot? The cops are like, oh, sorry, I just shot the first Black person I saw. So anyway, anywho, y'all know that this topic of conversation is one that I spend a lot of time discussing. And I think, honestly, I think just this conversation of how the mainstream media and internet creators and just internet users play a massive role in shaping in shaping society, in shaping our commonly held beliefs. And it's why too I get so frustrated. I get so frustrated when leftists will dismiss these media storms and cases that involve high profile, often celebrities, because in the realm of Me Too, the cases, you know, not everything goes a legal route, but allegations to any actual like lawsuits or charges that are filed, the attention is primarily on celebrities, especially when they are beautiful white women like Blake Lively. And there is a tendency to tune this stuff out to be like, I don't care, whatever, rich doesn't matter. I care about real people. And it's like, you need to understand that the privileges that Blake Lively has do not trickle down, but the way that she is treated by the internet and by the media, that trickles down. So no, Blake Lively's privileges and resources that she as a very rich white celebrity woman has, they do not trickle down. Yet the public perception of victims of abuse starting at the top does. And I think it's really important to understand that we use an example like Amber Heard, Blake Lively, you know, name a white celebrity woman who's been a part of the Me Too movement. We use those examples not because we're saying that those are the only cases that matter, that it's like, oh, the real victim, you know, the only victims in this world are the Blake Lively's, but because of what this means for most women, especially Black women and other, you know, working class or working Black women and other women of color who are disproportionately harmed. Like, Black women are disproportionately more likely to experience workplace sexual harassment, but they do not have any privileges or whatnot in being able to combat that, because those stories don't even get any attention. Like these are just everyday occurrences. And the other thing is like, you know, I do want leftists to make, I want them to understand this, but it's like so for people who are, let's say like very aware of the harassment campaigns, the smear campaigns around someone like Hassan Piker that come from a vast network of apolitical drama, slop tubers, etc. These are people who, they're not political commentators. They are not like it. This is not like they are explicitly right-wing political commentators who are going up against Hassan because they are espousing right-wing politics in the way that he espouses left-wing politics, but that they've labeled themselves as political commentators. No, it's because it's very profitable to shit on left-wing creators, especially when you are not a political commentator. Question, Caroline, how come you haven't spoken up about the amount of hate that Frogan... I literally have, so thank you, but goodbye. I literally don't even recognize your name, which means I know you're not in here that often. So are you coming in here today to be like, hey, Caroline, hey, how come you haven't spoken up about what's happened to Frogan? I don't even know your name. Like I was just about to mention too, that Frogan, who is not a political commentator, still gets so much shit because it's all part of the same, like Frogan doesn't even have to do politics, but because she is, she posts more politically on Twitter, because she is a hijabi streamer, and because she has made comments on stream that have then caused these big controversies, she gets a ton of hate and gets roped in with all of like the leftist political network on a platform like Twitch, because it's very profitable and lucrative to shit on anyone who is like leftist perceived. Frogan has expressed her appreciation for Caroline for speaking up for her. It's one of the reasons I started. I just really don't appreciate. I noticed that Scorpio Girl has not. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not a frequent watcher. So do you understand that that's very uncool? Very uncool to come into here when we know you're not in here because we don't recognize your name and be like, how come you haven't done this thing? It's very disrespectful. Especially considering that I myself have been the victim of smear campaigns, that I still have to deal with this shit. And because I don't make my content specifically around what every other YouTuber or Twitch streamer is saying and doing, and instead I broadly approach issues where my look at my coverage of my political perspective is one where I will apply it through my analysis of pop culture. It's like people will then go, oh, you don't care about this, or you've never, shame on you for X, Y, and Z. Anyway, whatever. I am moving on. I am moving on. Gremlo loved the clip about how you are done with Gremlo. We had a good moment this morning. I will grab the clip later, but you're still invited to the cookout. As I said, I'm sorry to Gremlo, but he can blame Will Neff. Okay. He can blame Will Neff, who I sent Will a tweet that I saw about a woman who claims she's been suffering from a 7-year sinus infection after her ex-boyfriend faced his cheeks at her and farted in her face while she was recovering from surgery. Like, it's not funny because that's actually so shitty. But I sent this to Will and I was like, she said, he and I stayed in a hotel one night after I had surgery, farted terribly, like I couldn't breathe. So like, that is awful. But also I sent that to Will to be like, see, I'm not exaggerating when I say your farts could kill me. Okay, anyway, I was in the middle of talking about something. BR, thank you for the gifted sub. I was in the middle of trying to make a comparison. Yes. Okay, so it's like all of this is connected. All of it is connected. The way that I keep putting in quotes because we know that it's not apolitical, but that's how they refer to themselves as apolitical content creators who their focus is not on putting forth content that is like addressing politics. Okay. They don't do politics in the way that Hassan Piker does, but what they do is they do drama slop. They will make a video that is only shitting on Hassan and other leftists. So they do that because it's very lucrative, because it's popular, and because it's easy. It's very easy to make drama content. And so what we have seen is a slopification, a dramification of so much content that touches on political topics, but through the lens of shitting on like leftist political commentators and leftist political or just, leftist politics. It's TBH, I think it's always been like this, sure, but it is increasing. It absolutely has, in just my opinion of being on here for a couple years. Like, I've been here for 2.5 years. And I know I'm newer to the internet and newer to streaming, but in my perception of it is that it has been proliferating. Like, it is absolutely growing because right-wing content is very popular now on the internet. You can say really horrible things and you're not getting, you're not facing any consequences for it. So it's been more normalized and it's become more lucrative. Some More News has a video, a wonderful breakdown of this apolitical influencer grift. I wish I had time to watch this whole thing, but I wanted to watch, what time is it? 9:00. I wanted to watch Shanna Spears' video before I have my conversation with Kat. So I'm going to save this. The next generation of MAGA influencers. There we go. Okay. You're going to get this for Will? Oh my God. Sydney Sweeney is selling 5,000 bars of soap that contain drops of her own bathwater in collaboration with Dr. Squatch. Hey, babe, Merry Christmas. I got you the Sydney Sweeney bar of soap that has her bathwater in it. I will take all 5,000. What if I bought all 5,000? There's a big jump in viewership during the pandemic. A lot of streamers turned to drama farming to keep those numbers up, and it's made the whole space more toxic than it used to be. Yeah, I mean, and like, here's the thing. Israel and Palestine, 10/7, that was a massive catalyst. A massive catalyst. Because streamers, content creators, whether they were political or not, like, use that as an opportunity to make shitty slop content. I remember my first year of streaming before October 7th happened, and I did not deal with what I have to deal with now. There is my streaming career before October 7th. There is my streaming career after October 7th. And there is a marked change. Not sure if I'm a first-time chatter, but I'm pretty new and I have to agree wholeheartedly. A lot of these slop creators have such unearned confidence with what they're talking about. Normally it wouldn't matter because it's basically content creator drama, but now it's actual news like Palestine. They're causing irreparable harm. Yes. Yeah. Like, there are very serious things that are at the core of so much of this slop content, where it's like you have people who are saying bring an end to genocide, right? People who are explicitly stated leftist creators who are advocating for the freedom and safety of Palestine. And then you have this growing network of drama creators who use this as a way to win internet points and grow their followings. And it's like, what's at the core of all this, not all the content is related to Israel and Palestine specifically, but a lot of it is. A lot of the most heinous smear campaigns revolve around the issue of Israel and Palestine. And so it just is very gross. It's very gross when you remember what's happening in the real world and how it is being used by internet creators. Hating on James Charles for being a creep was a simpler time. It's like, yeah. Remember when that was what it was? Okay. Also, people who aren't tuned in end up seeing the dramatization of politics in Gaza, and they tune out because they are turned off by the drama. Yeah. Which is why my approach when I cover topics is I really try and stay away from... I try and stay away from engaging in like personal warfare with content creators or any... I don't want my content at all to give off the vibe of drama slop. Because of the reasons that we've just stated. And that's the thing is like, look, for the most part, I don't engage because I know what the purpose is here and I know what will get lost. If I engage in a back and forth, it's just nonstop slop feed for the growing accounts on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch that need this to survive Because if they don't have it, then if attention is not paid to it, then they have to do something else. So I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not going to participate in it because I'm giving them what they want. And I know not everybody agrees with me, but this is my approach to things. Because otherwise it turns into a so-and-so said this about so-and-so, about reacted to this, who reacted to this, who reacted to that, who reacted to this, who reacted to that. And that's what everyone's attention is then on, no matter what your beliefs are. Like, we lose, in my opinion, we will lose the plot. We do. And when you shut it down, they have nothing to, they have nothing then from you. You know? I get that it's hard not to defend yourself against lies, but it really does. Yes, and I think there are certainly exceptions, okay? There's certainly exceptions. You know, Hassan has faced years of people trying to deplatform him, and he and invalidate, and like the thing is too is he is by far and away the most visible, the biggest leftist commentator. There is a lot of attention, good and bad, that gets put on him because of the level of success that he has attained. You know? So I think the way I approach things, I don't expect him to, he can't approach it in the same way. It turns into I'm disagreeing not because of the content, but because fuck you and I'll never agree with you. Yeah, and a lot of times it just turns into, as we see these personal grievances being nonstop aired, and it's like, bro, this now just feels like beef. Often one-sided, but okay. Anyway. Anywho, let me pull up where is the one that I want to look at here? Hold on a sec. Wait, actors lineup just dropped. Let me see. Hold on before we get into anything. Let's see. Colin Farrell and Danny DeVito. Oh my God. Arnold and his son. The Nepo baby speaks to the Nepo father. Zio, thank you for the 28 months. About Tree Fitty, thank you for 11 months. Dave Chappelle and Mo Amer. Seth Rogen and Jason Segel. Oh. Are you kidding me? Parker Posey and Lisa Kudrow. Cooper Coach and Sam Nivola. Honestly, don't really care. Natasha Rothwell and Sterling K. Brown. That'll be fun. Amanda Seyfried and Adam Brody. Diego Luna and Javier Bardem. Joe Locke and Charlie Cox. Don't care. Catherine Hahn and Kate Hudson. Yes. Carrie Russell and Scott Speedman. Kristen Bell and Adam Scott. That one will be fun. Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton and Kathy Bates? That one feels the most random. I'm not going to lie. Billy Bob Thornton and Kathy Bates. Okay. There's a few in there that excite me. it feels very TV heavy, including varieties actors. Just the ones that I'm like, oh, I'm excited for are because I'm watching the shows that they're doing. I think it's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, I guess because film season has. Oh, this is coming out. Oh, this is June. Yeah, sorry. This is June. So that makes sense that it's like they're not having people who are they're not having like the big film actors of the season. Okay, all right. Let's look at this. So just to give you a kind of precursor to the conversation that I'm going to be having with Kat. Again, this is a 3-part series that she wrote. Part 1 was about Reddit suppression. Part 2 was about mainstream media manipulation. Part 3 looks at misogyny, identity, and the women impacted beyond Lively. Okay, so there's a couple parts in here that I just want to touch on. All right, this part here. Okay. This is how misinformation is always spread, including before the internet existed. A confident, uninformed, and or malicious person speaks with authority and reaches a wide audience. Oh my God. What must it be like to be a confident, uninformed, and or malicious person speaking with authority that you do not possess and reaching a wide audience? I will never be in this position, and I will also never reach a wide audience. But like, this is what I'm talking about, where for most people, the way to reach a wide audience, this is the way. This is the way. And man, how easy that must be. Unless, you are a moral person, and then it's not easy, but then you don't do this. But if morals don't matter, then here's the blueprint. Just loud and wrong. Can I tell you something too? Let me tell you guys that I will hear all the time about a content creator. Oh, they're actually really nice. They actually don't really believe in the things that they're saying. Like, that's just their content. Oh yeah, no, they're just doing this because it gets them views. So the thing that we already assume, the thing that we already know to be true, not even an assumption, like know to be true, and yet it just reinforces that it's like, oh, there are so many people who can make this separation between how they are behind the scenes, like in real life, and then the content that they make, where they go, this is just my job. No, this is just what, like, more views and more money. And no, it doesn't matter. Okay. Like, let me be clear. It is still harmful when you are a content creator with influence, and the wider your reach is, the more influence that you have. It doesn't matter if you don't believe those things. It's same with politicians. Okay. Anybody in a position of power and influence who is saying one thing, even though they don't fucking believe it. Because if the things that they are saying and the way that they are influencing is harmful, then it doesn't matter if it's not something that they actually believe in or not. Which is why I almost have, respect isn't the right word, but I guess on the spectrum of, I have more respect for people who do believe those things, and that's why they say them. For instance, Ben Shapiro's sister, what's her name? Abby? What was her YouTube account? Actually, Abby? Something like that. She was trying to be a conservative influencer, but like very, very in the traditional sense. Okay. Classically Abby. Yes. Classically Abby. she was very much so about like wearing dresses and being a mother. And here are the things that you do in a traditional conservative way of life. That is the way that we should be returning to. And you know what happened? Her content was just not successful. Like she kept going down, 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 down until she finally quit. She's like, I'm just going to go be a mom. I'm done. And it's because a lot of the conservative adjacent content creators, YouTubers that she was competing with, they were very different from how classically Abby was. And because she really believed in the things that she was saying, in like, I really believe that women need to dress and act this way. Eventually she was like, okay, I guess this is just not, I can't make it as a YouTuber, so I'm leaving. I'm out. Now, it's not to say that I agree with her, okay? I am not condoning classically Abby's content and the the lifestyle and political beliefs that she was espousing. But I use her as an example because I do think that she's a person who genuinely believes in those things and was making content because she wanted to genuinely influence others to live this lifestyle and have these beliefs around family, God, etc. And when it was not working out, rather than pivoting to be like, okay, now I'm still going to do, conservative. I'm still going to have a conservative bent to my content, but I got to change things up. Because I see what's working. And so I got to do that instead. She didn't do that. Maybe she still will, but as far as I understand, she just kind of left the content world. I really respect Carolyn because she's at least extremely true to her beliefs. You know what? So true. Carolyn says what she means and means what she says. But anyway, you know what I'm saying there, where most people, it feels, or at least more and more people now, are very loud and wrong, but they don't care. And that's intentional. And because more and more people who are doing political commentary by shitting on leftist creators, like even though it's slop, even though it's drama, they are engaging politically by shitting on the beliefs of leftist political content creators. Okay, a person trying to This is how misinformation is always spread. A confident, uninformed, and malicious person speaks with authority and reaches a wide audience. A person trying to correct them after the fact reaches far fewer people with the truth. Remember, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth can put its boots on. It is so hard to combat misinformation for a variety of reasons, but one being that people are very inclined to believe the first thing that they are hearing. So if you hear a narrative, despite it being false, it's hard to reach people with the truth because they go, nope, I already heard this. I already believe this to be true. First impressions, right? First impressions. What frustrates me to no end is witnessing those sloppists finding out that they can cause IRL ramifications. They're becoming actual menaces, engaging the ADL Congress people. Right. Yes. Causing fundraising events being canceled, postponed. Yes, there are real consequences to this. Let me be clear. And consequences too in being a distraction. Right? A lot of this is very distracting. It's very distracting. Even if the lie goes with the escalator and the truth takes the stairs, it will reach the same destination eventually. But it is often the case that there is not equal opportunity to stop and correct misinformation. You might think that one way to combat social media driven smear campaigns is to make the same kind of content in support of victims. You would think that, but you would unfortunately be treating this way too simply. There are people doing just that, but they face an uphill battle on an uneven playing field. Yep. Anna Bash is a TikTok creator with just under 100,000 followers. As a member of the Creator Fund, she said she was able to pay her rent from money that she made on TikTok. In December, a video that Bash made about Baldoni surpassed 1 million views. In it, she watches clips from a nearly 30-minute video that Baldoni made to propose to his wife in 2012, which he posted on YouTube. It has 14 million views. If your boyfriend makes you watch a 30-minute video of himself as a proposal to you, you need to run, girl. This is all about him. It has nothing to do with her, Bash said. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's fucking insane. A 30-minute video about himself was what he proposed with. Can you imagine if like Will ever proposed to me and he presented me a 30-minute video of clips of Will Neff clips? It was like a clip compilation and I had to sit there and watch it and be like, okay, bro, at least make a YouTube short, please, bro. Please, at least make a YouTube short. Come on. There's short content. 30 minutes is fucking long. Bash's TikTok got so much attention that there were few online news articles written about it. At that point, Bash said mostly positive feedback was interrupted by a stream of negative comments, with such similar sentiments that they were almost robotic. She shared screenshots of comments with me that said Lively is, quote, difficult to work with, a textbook narcissist, was hopping on the Me Too bandwagon, and sounds more like she was sexually assaulting him. Other comments told Bash to get off the internet and suggested she was being paid by Lively. On the contrary, 3 days later, Bash said she was suspended from the TikTok Creator Fund where she made most of her income. Bash shared screenshots that showed her TikTok account was in good standing without prior warnings or rule violations on previous videos about Baldoni. Nonetheless, she shared a screenshot showing her appeal was denied. It was thousands lost. It's my rent money. It's my livelihood. She wonders if she was targeted in a false flagging campaign to trigger an automatic suspension from the Creator Fund for triggering so many misconduct reports. TikTok did not respond to a request for comment. That is insane. This creator, who has under 100,000 followers, had a TikTok that popped off. It surpassed 1 million views, and it resulted in mass reporting of her account that then affected her finances, her livelihood. So not only is it not lucrative to take the side, right, present a narrative in a situation like this that the internet has decided is wrong, but it can also not only not be lucrative, it can hurt you. It can hurt you. And I have plenty of experience with this. Simply being a pro-Palestinian creator, it is not lucrative. It's not. Advocating against forms of oppression does it for me does not result in a windfall of money, and instead has actually hurt me. So this idea that like being pro-Palestine is a grift, not for me, not for the people that I know. It's laughable to say that it is a grift, considering that it is actually quite the opposite. And I talk about it not because it makes me money, but because it's what I believe in. But the thing is that people who do grift, who only do things not because of principles or morals, but because they'll do what is the most lucrative thing for them, cannot imagine a world where people say things because it's actually what they believe in. People without convictions don't believe anyone actually has convictions. Yeah. You know what? I fucking hate the word grifter now. I still use it, but it is one of those words that the internet learned. Everyone learned this word, and now we just use it all the time. Grifter is applied to anyone and everyone. There are certain words that when everyone on the internet seems to learn, then it loses the meaning. It loses all meaning. Grifter, just met her. Let me buy her a drink first. Okay. Social media platforms like YouTube and TikTok are positioned as neutral spaces where anyone can share their opinion on equal footing as long as they don't violate community guidelines. But in practice, that's not the case. Once a specific narrative framing like Depp good, Heard bad, or Baldoni good, Lively bad gets traction, creators benefit from sharing that viewpoint. The algorithm is trained to suggest content with this skew to new and returning viewers, like how I got served the pro-Baldoni anti-Lively TikTok immediately upon opening the app, and Lively's defenders face online harassment and targeted attacks. The thing that gets the narrative framing to stick can be organic or coordinated. A group of mid-sized creators who know each other and make similar content can easily direct narratives by getting ahead of the story and attacking prominent people on the other side. They can draw conclusions before hearing the evidence and in whatever way fits the preconceived bias. They can turn people into characters. Some of the people who created and collaborated on pro-Depp anti-Heard content immediately seized on the Lively case with the same framing because it resulted in huge attention and profit for them a few years ago. This niche goes by different names, including drama and commentary channels, pop culture justice channels. I'm sorry, but this makes me gag. Not like I'm gagged. This makes me gag. Pop culture justice. Oh my God. You know what? Move aside, social justice warrior. I am a pop culture justice warrior now. Okay? That is how I'm labeling myself. Fuck it. Fuck saying I have anything to do with politics. I am a pop culture justice warrior. Okay? Spread the news. Spread the news. Caroline Kwan? Oh, yeah. I heard she's a pop culture justice warrior. You should check her out. This niche goes by different names, independent journalism, and so on. It intersects with men's rights activism, the manosphere, and conservative media. But it has resulted in creators and audiences who are now hunting for new women to throw on the pyre. Those women don't have to be famous. Exactly. Okay? Like, you guys, remember that the shit that gets the most attention, the stories that we tune into because we can't escape them, often the people involved in those stories are famous. That's why they get so much attention. That's why a massive spotlight is on them. But most of the time, those who are affected by stuff like this are not famous. They are not well resourced. They don't have the ability to combat this, whether it's on the internet or it's off the internet, online or offline. Okay, this story is awful. In 2023, I reported on a woman named Samantha White. Sam is an everyday single mom who started using TikTok in 2020. Over the course of that year, Sam's marriage turned abusive. She reported her ex-husband to the Coast Guard base that he worked at for emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. In response, he denied the allegations and accused Sam of emotional and physical abuse. The Coast Guard investigated and found that Sam's allegations met their criteria while her ex-husband's didn't. He was discharged from misconduct. A few days later, at the end of 2022, Sam's ex began posting videos of her online. The videos featured Sam in distress during confrontations towards the end of their abusive relationship when she was trying to leave. They went viral with people mocking Sam, giving her cruel nicknames, and labeling her as a crazy woman who her ex had to escape. Sam had already made TikToks about healing from abuse, and she posted her story and evidence. They received a tiny fraction of the views that her ex received. As a reminder, these are not content creators. These are normal people. Sam, the woman in the situation who was using TikTok, okay? And then after she went through this with her ex, he went to the internet to try and smear her because of how easy it is. Because it's like nowadays, if you have victimized somebody and then you want to smear them on top of it, just run to the internet. Run to the internet. There are plenty of people. It does not matter if you were fucking charged in a court of law. It does not matter if the person that you victimized has a mountain of evidence. None of that matters. Okay? You just present yourself as, you guys, I'm just a normal person and I'm also the victim of a crazy person, my partner, I'm a victim of a witch hunt, etc. And plenty of people online will support you, and this will lead to real life repercussions for your victim. So her TikToks received a fraction of the views that her ex's did, and his videos were spreading to the front page of Reddit and to men's rights activists who love to seize on this shit. Of course, men's rights activists go, "Oh, a man who's being accused by yet another crazy woman. Come on, let's get the troops." Someone left a post-it note on Sam's door in 2023 with a link to a YouTube Shorts video of her and the words, "You need to see this." Some fucking loser copied, pasted a link to a YouTube Shorts video, left it on a post-it note, and put it on her door. One of the most persistent men's rights creators who has been making videos about Sam for more than a year is a woman named Chloe Sunderland, who has close to 2 million subscribers. According to her YouTube channel, she's currently engaged, but back when I interviewed her, she was a single mom like Sam. They both said that they had left abusive ex-husbands, and both of them were interrupted during our calls by their young kids. Sunderland acknowledged to me that her videos drove the false perception that women were more abusive than men, and she told Sam in messages that she didn't care that Sam's ex-husband had been kicked out of the Coast Guard for abusing her. Oh my God! This is the problem, right? It's like there are plenty of women who will get in line to uphold and protect male violence because of the benefit that it brings to them. Because remember, we talked about the hierarchy yesterday, where it's like, oh, okay, you uphold patriarchal violence as a woman because it will benefit you. And as a content creator, I talk about this all the time. As a female content creator who tries to combat this, I come up against so many women in these spaces who are exactly like Chloe Sunderland, who they know what they're doing. They know what they are doing, but they don't fucking care because of the personal benefit that it brings to them. As long as they are profiting off it, it doesn't matter to them. So Sunderland acknowledged this and told Sam in messages she didn't care. She sounded meek on the phone and brash on YouTube, where she can make money from bashing Sam. Isn't that interesting? But also not interesting because that's so many fucking content creators. It's like, oh, here they are. They present themselves this way on the internet, but then in real life, they're not like that. But it doesn't fucking matter because they're still creating harm. They are still creating harm. After I wrote my article, Sunderland made derogatory content about it. After that, Sam wrote Sunderland a letter asking her to cease and desist, but Sunderland just turned it into more content. Sam said she spoke to a few lawyers, but they weren't interested. And she said she even reached out to the police in Canada where Sunderland lives, but they blew her off. A lot of people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, Sam told me over the phone in February. But it is a big deal because even if it's all online, it follows you. I get comments to this day. It will still haunt me 5 years down the road. It is a big deal. Can we please stop acting like online harassment, which not always, but sometimes results in harassment in the real world? But can we stop acting like online harassment is not a big deal? That it's like, okay, the purpose here is to silence victims of abuse like Sam, okay? When female journalists and other like very visible high profile women are targeted, the purpose is to get them to leave. It is to get them to retreat, to disappear, to not be anywhere, to not be around. Because look at Sam now, right? She's much happier than when I first spoke to her 2 years ago, but she had to sacrifice the way she existed publicly to be happy. So even though she had to protect her peace, and I respect that, what happened was she left the internet. She left the fucking internet. I know so many women who have left the internet because just like Sam, just normal women, the shit that they had to deal with. And also not just like top down. Okay. You hear female celebrities like Jenna Ortega go, yeah, I left the internet. I'm not talking about Selena Gomez's fake leaving the internet. I'm talking about female celebrities who there are so many smear campaigns. You just cannot, you can't keep track of them. But when Jenna Ortega was getting so much disgusting shit, she went, I'm done. I've left. Same with, what's her name? Starfire. Not Starfire. From The Boys. She also was like, yeah, I am not using the internet like I used to because I can't. Erin Moriarty. Yes. After, Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, great ally to women, just was nonstop. Daisy Ridley as well. Yeah. When Sam makes TikToks now, she doesn't post them. She had to shrink, retreat, and anonymize herself to exist online, where she had always been able to connect with other women before. Like, this is so sad to me, but this is the goal. And very often the goal is met. It's like, okay, we'll leave you alone, but only when you disappear. Only when you disappear. And the second you're back, we're doing this again. She had to desensitize herself to online abuse, box it up, and shove it in a closet in her mind so she could be a good mom. It was very textbook of my ex-husband to attack me online because he knew how important my online presence was to me. I did that way before he came into my life, Sam said. So for him to start a smear campaign against me and ruin my reputation, that was so typical. She's right. It's so typical for abusers to act this way, and there's a name for it. Yes. So what Kat is doing is making the connection here that not every smear campaign, not every case of abuse is one that involves celebrities. And we know that, okay? We know that. The majority of them don't. But normal people are affected by what happens to high-profile people in high-profile cases, both good and in good and bad ways. So her ex-husband, it is unfortunately true that he sees smear campaigns and the effectiveness of them, okay? Because we though living in this world, being a person online, understanding just the commonly held beliefs in our society, you can weaponize that and wield it. And so because misogyny is so easily weaponized and wielded, this is the result. It's like the Johnny Depp case, the Justin Baldoni case, that gets a ton of attention, but there are regular guys like Sam's ex-husband who look at this stuff and learn from it. It's why like men, normal everyday men, have referred to their girlfriends and wives that they have abused as Amber Heards. Like that, unfortunately, became a thing after Amber Heard lost the defamation trial. Is like abusers looked at that and went, "Oh, there's a playbook that I can pull from. When my victim accuses me of abuse, I just call her an Amber Heard because everyone knows what that means now. Amber Heard is synonymous with a lying woman." Another thing Heard and Lively have in common is they are both white actresses. The Me Too stories that get the most media attention, from tabloids to YouTube to cable news, are the cases involving celebrities. The victims who get the most attention are white women. The kind of attention they get is often abusive, but it still obscures the broader scope of the Me Too movement and smear campaigns. Me Too was started in 2006 by Tarana Burke, a black woman and activist in New York City, to address rampant sexual violence against black girls. The movement as a hashtag was started by actress Alyssa Milano in 2017, and Me Too has been most widely defined by high-profile cases about sexual violence, abuse, and harassment ever since. Me Too also has become defined by the entertainment value that these allegations present to the public, even though it's re-traumatizing at best for the victims. This era of Me Too minimizes the movement's origin with black women and girls and continues to minimize black women and girls even when they are celebrities. Rapper Meg Thee Stallion was shot by fellow rapper Tory Lanez in 2020 and obtained a restraining order against him this year on the grounds that he continues to harass and drive a social media smear campaign against her from prison. Meghan Markle has been harassed and smeared by racist hate accounts, tabloids, and royal family fans since 2016. Black women are also disproportionately more likely to experience workplace sexual harassment. Blake Lively has her celebrity, her wealth, her whiteness, her beauty, all these forms of far-reaching privilege. The everyday survivor of workplace sexual harassment doesn't have these privileges or resources. They do have to wonder, am I going to be able to feed my children if I decide to stand up for myself? I believe this is why it's incredibly underreported, because people don't have that power. Only a certain segment of our community can do that. Otherwise, you're struggling for the rest of your life. Everyday victims and victims of Lively's stature are in two totally different realms. The fact that Lively has been undermined to this degree goes to show that even a white, blonde, conventionally attractive married woman in the spotlight can't meet the impossible standard of the perfect victim. While Lively's privileges don't trickle down, the attitudes towards women reporting sexual harassment do. It's the thought that you're lying. It's the thought that you may have made a play for power. It didn't work out in your favor, and now you're trying to tarnish someone's reputation. There's no such thing as this ideal perfect victim. In Bash's TikTok comment sections, Lively's detractors often brought up her whiteness. Some brought up how Lively and her husband Reynolds got married on a plantation, which Reynolds apologized for in 2020. That is something I can't forget. Lawrence, who is a black woman, said about Lively romanticizing the antebellum era of slavery in the U.S. Lawrence foresees Baldoni's team using Lively's past controversies against her during court. If someone is viewed as problematic, so they may try to put all kinds of criticism in front of the jury, even if it only serves to deflect from the credibility of Lively's sexual harassment and retaliation allegations. If someone is viewed as problematic, it's difficult for a lot of people to see them as a victim because that would be more nuanced. I think that played a role in society's willingness to say, I knew it, she lied about it, in addition to how our society is programmed to disbelieve women. But, and this is a really important point, This undermining of credibility only goes one way for the majority of people talking about the case. Baldoni's problematic history, which let me tell you is extensive, okay? So people who are defending someone like Justin Baldoni will pull up the not so pretty parts of Blake Lively's past as a way to undermine her allegations of sexual harassment and being smeared by Justin. But then simultaneously, his problematic history is not weaponized against him. He literally, like, I mean, I can ask Kat to get into it more, but Lively is guilty in the court of public opinion without a chance to defend herself in a real court, while Baldoni benefits from a level of support he's never previously received without having to prove his allegations. And we see this with normal everyday people, where it's like some guy who's been accused of abusing a woman. People will immediately dive into all the things about her in a way that are not perfect, in a way to discredit her, but will ignore the fact that, like, maybe other people have accused this guy of being a creep, or maybe there are things in his past that should undermine his credibility, but none of that is taken into account. I think hating on white women is easier. Just add white to your misogynistic comment and people don't think it's problematic anymore. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest here, and I have said this before, that what I have seen often is men on the left who will be misogynistic, but as long as it is towards a white woman, then it's acceptable. But remember that misogyny is misogyny. And so if you normalize misogyny towards wealthy white women, guess what that does? That is bad for all women. That is bad for all women. It's like I'm being misogynistic towards a wealthy white woman while also advocating for working class women. Those two things don't align. And like it's why too I get so frustrated. I get so frustrated when I cover these topics, because a lot of times the pushback, the dismissal, the who cares about this shit? I'm gonna go listen to a real, a real political commentator. They don't want to listen to a what am I again? A pop culture social justice warrior. They wave the hand in the face because they go, this is a rich white woman. Who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? Right? Why are you dying on this hill? You only care about rich white ladies who get married on plantations? And It also waters down the valid criticism against white women using their whiteness. Yes, like, oh my God, nuance is dead. Nuance is dead. It's like, do you not understand like what's going on here? And you read this as, oh, so I guess we're just going to prioritize rich white women in this world yet again, because those are who the victims are. No. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying if this is what happens to rich white women, you know how much worse it is for women who are not wealthy and white. Okay? Who do not get the media attention and do not have the resources to fight back against this shit. Look at what is like, if you do not recognize that if this can happen to Blake Lively, this happens to every woman who is not Blake Lively. Okay. It remains clear to me that throughout these cases, while the victims vary in their privilege and capacity to harm others, they've all been crushed by misogyny. Lively's suit contain. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh my gosh, it's already almost 10. Okay, I'm not gonna have time to watch this whole video, but we will watch We shall watch some. Where is it? And here's the thing too, y'all. Here's the thing, okay? This is not just the Blake Lively case. Look at what is happening with Meg. Look at all the people, both celebrity and non-celebrity, white, black, Asian, etc., who are saying free Tory Lanez, who are defending DDG. Okay? Like, this is a fucking massive problem. And it's not just about it's not just rich white women. And look at Halle, like the way that they are treating Halle Bailey. Look at this shit. I mean, Justin Bieber shares new video listening to Chris Brown. Welcome home, swag lord. You know what that does for the millions of Justin Bieber fans out there? That means it is not only acceptable, but it is good to continue supporting Chris Brown, who has such a lengthy history of violence. I would have to spend an entire stream detailing all of it. Girl, the amount of women I see who support Chris Brown is insane. Right. And like women who are white, women who are black, it doesn't matter. So that's why we have to keep having these conversations. This is not something where it's like, oh, if you're of a certain gender or you're a certain race, then you get it. Then, you know, you've lined up as warriors against this shit. No, this is a pervasive issue in our society. So gross. Where has he been? He got arrested in the UK for another instance of violence from 2023. That's where he's been. Welcome home, swag lord, because he was fucking arrested. Because he is a very violent person. Like, I just included 2 screenshots here. A history of violence. How has Chris Brown survived so much controversy? The timeline of Chris Brown's history of violence towards women. They just did another documentary. I think this came out this is recent. Another documentary that lays out the years and years and years. Like, seriously, if you Google Chris Brown abuse, there are stories from like 15 years ago. I mean, the Chris Brown and Rihanna abuse happened in 2009. When Chris Brown abused Rihanna, that happened 16 years ago. 16 years ago. And he already had allegations of abuse before then. And then after that, this has been happening for like multiple decades. Multiple decades. It's not just Rihanna. Remember that. Even though, of course, what he did to Rihanna was horrible. And you would have thought that should have been it. Okay. When those photos came out, when the story came out of what he did, you would have thought like, that's it. But no. And what's so frustrating is that celebrities who are like so on it with other issues still will support Chris Brown. It is this like insane thing where he knows he has immunity. He knows that no matter who he batters, no matter the next instance of violence that he commits, celebrities across the industry will continue to support him. He has millions of fans still. He's been an issue for so long that Dropout, then College Humor, was able to make a skit about how his only response to any pushback is to be violent. Yeah. It's the same thing with DDG. He's still getting hype. Yes. And the thing is too, is that someone like a DDG who his fans, people on the internet, will look at him as a victim, he will get more support. That's what's so fucked, is DDG will be like, and all his friends and, you know, their communities will rally around and be like, you know, we got to support him. Drake just said he's the future. Who, about Chris Brown? I was like, not about DDG. Bro, honestly, fuck Justin Bieber. Yeah, I mean, fuck Justin Bieber. Fuck all these people.
For my friend.
Okay, wait, let me link this. I don't have time to watch this whole thing before I gotta jump on with Kat, but this is Sean Spear's video from 2 weeks ago.
Ahmed and his family. Please check out my description box to learn more about him and his story and how you can help. A few months ago, I was sitting in a dark theater surrounded by friends when an ad for Disney's Snow White began to play. I'm not particularly...
Victoria Monet begging in his comments to open for him was so embarrassing. It just makes you crazy. It makes you crazy, where it's like, why? You...
fond of Disney, nor am I fond of Hollywood's incessant need to regurgitate and shove down my throat its latest sloppily built cash cow. I will not cheer for your cheap nostalgia. I'm a man of principle. I choose 5 songs, 3 movies, and 2 shows that feel safe, and I watch them over and over again for the rest of eternity. I'm the Sisyphus of media consumption. That isn't to say I wasn't intrigued by the trailer, because somehow even heartbreak feels good in a place like this. I was intrigued not because of the acting or the CGI characters or the bob, but I was intrigued because of what was happening around me during the ad. Upon seeing Rachel Zegler light up the screen, one of my friends leaned over to me and asked, "Wait, why do people hate her again?" I didn't have an answer, but
that was literally Sam to me the day that we filmed our podcast.
A few seconds later, my other friend leaned over and they asked the same thing. Why do people hate her? The question was valid to begin with, but it was made even more interesting by the fact that it was posed to me twice within the span of 60 seconds. Both inquisitors were completely unaware of what the other had asked. All they knew was that while they were forced to watch this compulsory ad, they were being made to look upon the face of a woman hunted. In hindsight, I wonder if this problem weighed on everyone's mind. Did other people in the theater turn to their designated internet friend and interrogate them about the media politics of Rachel Zegler? Or am I just the most online person in the room? People do hate Rachel Zegler, a weird amount actually, and this hatred extends to other women, whether they have committed a transgression or not. Oftentimes, a person's hatred has little to do with the actions of a woman and more to do with that person's allegiance to punishment and surveillance. In our carceral society, pop culture is not like a prison. It is a prison.
This is why I am now a pop culture justice warrior.
The women that populate it are at the mercy of our sentencing. We seek to watch, humiliate, and dispose of so-called fallen women, like Rachel, like Chapel, like Megan, and many others. It's how we get our penal rocks off. Let's look closer.
Pop culture is a prison.
The internet can be a terrible, lawless place, but sometimes
I think it's
it can
great.
be useful. This portion of the video is sponsored by ThredUp, an online consignment and thrift store. For a majority of my life, my wardrobe has had a sizable second-hand
Fighting for
presence.
better culture,
Thrifting was
Caroline
and
is our pop
the most
culture
affordable option for me. Not only can shopping secondhand benefit your
justice
wallet,
warrior.
but it can also potentially benefit the
I
planet.
am though. You know
I've
what?
been using
Actually,
ThredUp
I was saying that as a
off
joke.
and on since 2021.
I was saying that as a
and
joke,
I
but
usually
I
buy
guess that is
casual,
kind of what I
everyday
do.
pieces. Their platform features high quality products, including
That
designer
is who I
brands
am.
and new with tag items. And by using their search
I
filters,
am a
you
pop
can refine
culture
what you see based on what
justice
you want. I tend
warrior.
to search by material and color.
Add it
because
to
I
your
prefer
bio.
things that are more cotton-based and nearly offensive to the eye in terms of saturation. This blouse
I love
is
their
a
set. This
perfect
video is so
example.
visually
Its
pleasing.
estimated retail
Oh,
price was
me too.
$85,
I love as well.
and I got it for $14.99. Next are these baby doll pink sunglasses. Their estimated retail price is $51.
I got two shirts from ThredUp yesterday. I was influenced by Mia Maples. I really like thrifting. I've used ThredUp before.
My favorite piece is this sundress. And don't start sundress discourse in my comment section. This is a sundress. It's high quality and came in
Pop
great
culture
condition.
justice warrior
There's
does
no
really roll off the
obvious
tongue.
signs that it's secondhand at all. It's estimated to retail for $159, but I got it for $37.49 on ThredUp. And if you're down with that, make sure to think secondhand first. Shop hundreds of brands for a fraction of the price.
Okay, and thank you for the gift. It's
Tap my link and use code SHANSPEAR50 to shop my ThredUp faves and receive 50% off your first order plus
you know,
free
that is
shipping.
discourse I have
Thank you
not
for
tapped
watching the
into
segment,
yet.
and thanks to ThredUp for sponsoring it.
I thought we were going with Pop Justice.
In 2021, Rachel Zegler's first formal acting credit
That's the shortened
hit
version.
theaters. She was Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. That same year, it was announced that Rachel would be immortalized forever in the halls of Disney, possibly next to Walt's frozen head. She would be undertaking the role of Snow White in an upcoming live adaptation. Snow White is white, and I don't even mean that racially. I mean
Khloe Kardashian?
literally. She's described in the source material as having hair the color of ebony, lips the color of a rose,
Is that a
and skin the
flashbang of
color
Chloe
of
K?
snow. Rachel, on the other hand, refers to herself as a white Latina. She is of Colombian and Polish descent. As we have seen from other
Not
live-action
Latina enough,
castings
not
where
white
a
enough.
person of color portrays an originally white character, people lose their minds over this kind of thing. People on the internet believe that Rachel Zegler is not appropriate for the role. I'm not gonna argue with y'all because I already have a video about this phenomenon and I know how y'all like to tussle. But I will say, they animated Snow White in such a way that not even she is as white as snow. And at certain points in the movie, Rachel Zegler is quite literally close to the animation's complexion. So, if you don't like her in the role, I mean, that's too damn bad.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
Due to casting alone, Rachel was catapulted into hypervisibility, which in turn brought intense scrutiny and abject villainy from observers. It only got worse in 2022 when she began doing press in relation to Snow White.
Bro, it's like the casting announcement just came out for Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and it is sad. It is sad how immediately so many people on the internet went, HBO better fucking defend this young actress because people are going to be vile. And accounts like Pop Crave retweeted the news with a side-by-side photo of the young girl who's playing Hermione versus Emma Watson as Hermione. And it's like, you know what? Maybe Chappell was right calling out Pop Crave. Maybe Pop Crave needs to be checked more because they know exactly what they are doing with that. They know what they are doing by putting the picture of the actress playing Hermione, who is not a white girl like Emma Watson was, up against a photo of Emma Watson playing Hermione, and being like, "Oh, what? What? We're just tweeting out news. No, y'all know what you're fucking doing."
These were cute little moments, you know? She spoke about her relationship with the original animation and clued in audiences on what they could expect from the live adaptation.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious.
Chappell
I
should've
watched
been
it
meaner.
once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Believe it or not,
Oh,
these
God
clips
forbid.
are what reignited the conservative hate campaign against Rachel. Listen to some of these comments. She needs to be media trained. It's incredible how you can throw your career away with just 2 minutes. I can just tell by the way she talks, she's insufferable to be around. She's a terrible person in real life. An uneducated, woke slur. This is the moment that Rachel Zegler's PR.
That person knows Rachel Zegler in real life? That's why they said she's a terrible person in real life. Oh, she's mad annoying. Okay, let me ask you a question. Why do you think Rachel Zegler is mad annoying? What is it that you can identify has influenced you into believing that Rachel Zegler is mad annoying? And I'm not saying you feel this way, but therefore is deserving of nonstop hate and harassment. It's her best friend in chat. She's like, no, listen, guys, love Rachel, but she's so annoying. Because here's the thing, okay? Let me explain. It's not that you have to like every single celebrity if they are a woman. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But I think what's important is to recognize how often women are labeled as annoying, as difficult, etc., as a way to then heap harassment upon them, as like painting them as the true villains in an industry like Hollywood, where it's like, you know, a woman being annoying is actually the least of Hollywood's problems. And then you have Gal Gadot right there, who's like out there waving the flag for genocide. And it's like, do you have anything to say on her? Anything? Here's the thing, even if she is, what's the crime? Right. But like, that's the problem, is that people be like, oh, well, Rachel's annoying. Which, okay, maybe separate from the smear campaign, you're like, nah, I just don't really like her as an actress or yada, yada. But so much of it is influenced by these smear campaigns, where a lot of the energy and hate is directed at someone like Rachel Zegler, whose crime is that she's perceived to be annoying. But again, where does that come from? What is it who told you that she's annoying? Are you being influenced by the nonstop slop videos that are just so cruel to her because it's very lucrative to be?
Our team is going to remember forever. This is a career and movie-killing moment coming from the mouth of this entitled brat. This vitriol quickly bled out of YouTube and followed Rachel across the internet. On Instagram, both
I've been called annoying my whole life, and I don't even speak most of the time. Bro, I'm sorry. You're like, I don't even talk. But can I tell you something too, though? Women get so afraid of being labeled as annoying, okay? And so it causes them to be silent. It causes them not to be outspoken, because they're like, I don't want to be called annoying. Because a loud woman, an opinionated woman, is going to be called obnoxious, a bitch, right? That society does not want opinionated, outspoken women. And so they'll call them difficult. They'll call them annoying. They'll call them bitches as an effort to get them to shut the fuck up. I've been called every name in the book because I open my mouth and I say the things that I believe. Cutie has a massive fear of being seen as annoying. Yes. After what she went through because of her streaming persona when she was like dark cutie, it caused her to have permanent anxiety in this industry where she fears being perceived as annoying. Do you think that these guys worry about this? Like, genuinely, do you think that that male content creators who are doing, who are acting obnoxiously on stream, do you think that they worry in the way? Let me tell you, no. Okay, no, they absolutely do not. Because this is not just a content creator thing. This is a cultural thing. Women being raised to be demure and not be, not be annoying. Don't ruffle feathers. Don't be too loud. Male content creators farm being annoying. It's an entire category of content for them. Yeah. Don't be confrontational. It's like, I mean, I also worry about that. I also am like, man, I don't want people to think I'm a bitch. But the truth is that they're going to call me one anyway. All right. They're going to call me one anyway until I stop doing this, until I just disappear. I'm no longer a content creator. I'm going to get called a bitch. I'm going to get called a whore. I'm going to be called obnoxious. Whatever.
Her comment section and comment sections of posts that mention her, the backlash only worsens. Thank you, Rachel, for being a narcissistic dog shit actress. Please never make another movie again. At Rachel. Snow White is a traditional woman, not a feminist. She's trying so hard to be likable and failing hard. You made my daughter cry the entire movie. Thanks a lot. Huge mouth, tiny brain. One user that I found in her comment section made their account dedicated to one of Rachel's interviews, in which she jokingly refers to the romance subplot of the original Snow White as weird. Every single one of this user's posts is that clip. Their name references it.
Yeah, guy who definitely does not have a daughter.
And they use the
Definitely
same
not.
thumbnail for every
Yusan, thank you for the
video
gifted.
every single time. You don't find that weird? That seems normal to you? Just give me a second.
Like, I will get harassed by there are a couple accounts. This is so fucked up. There are a couple accounts that harass me that I've had to block. They keep popping up, and it'll be a photo of Cutie, but one where I have either distorted her face or have taken a screenshot of when she had an emotional moment on stream, and it's like it'll be an account that uses her name in some variety, but is obviously, it's not a Cutie fan. No, it's like an incel freak, weird stalker skid marks that is simultaneously harassing Cutie by having this account, and then also me by stalking me. It's very insane. It's like, do you really think that you are in the right here? You've made an entire account to harass a female streamer. Like, you made an entire account, just that account existing, which is weird stalker harassing behavior towards this streamer, and then you use that account to harass and stalk other female streamers.
Just so I can protect myself from you, because clearly I need it. Rachel's hate campaign not only has a misogynistic tilt to it, but also a racial one. People even began referring to Rachel as black, which is clearly not the case, but perhaps serves as an attempt to mark her as an other. Black being the furthest thing they can imagine on the spectrum of marginalization, and therefore the most insulting thing they can call someone. That won't work over here, partner. You can't make me hate being black. If I die, I want to come back as a black feminine person every single time. You're mad. You might also notice that besides her role as Snow White and her existence as a Latina woman, Rachel also receives a great deal of violence due to her politics. She is openly anti-Trump, which explains the Trump dick riding in her comment section, and most notably, she's pro-Palestinian. We love to see it. Her stance on Palestine especially caused backlash during the Snow White promotion, compounding with every other thing snowflake conservatives got mad about. Major publications and even the director's son further stoked this fire by implying Rachel's politics caused Snow White to flop at the box office. Don't piss me off. I don't believe that anything Rachel Zegler has said or done warrants the amount of abuse she has faced. I also don't believe she's the reason a major corporation lost money on a shoddily made cash grab. Because again, don't piss me off. Don't get me started.
Yeah, and just remember, it's extremely loser behavior to defend a corporation like Disney and throw an individual like Rachel Zegler under the bus, okay? Like, you're defending poor little victimized multi-billion-dollar corporation Disney.
Started on the, well, she hates Snow White and that's why people hate her. Sorry, my scroll fell. Because first of all, she never said that. And second of all, you guys like your jobs? Oh. When has an actor hating their IP ever been a deal breaker for audiences? Hating Twilight arguably lended Robert Pattinson respect among Twi haters during the thick of things. People are hooting and hollering over Penn Badgley hating Dan from Gossip Girl and now Joe from You. So what's really tea? The comments about Rachel and other hyper-visible women needing to be trained are also alarming to me.
Yeah,
to my
or
knowledge,
Harrison
Rachel
Ford
hasn't
hating
said
Star
anything
Wars.
outright problematic or offensive. She's just a little silly. She's a theater kid, for God's sake. I knew that before I even knew anything about her. I wish my only flaw was being outgoing and creative. That's not even a flaw. This discourse reminds me of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. You want these women to become more refined, palatable, and couth, which really
You just have
translates to
like literally the belief, the concept in popular culture of taming a wild woman is one that has persisted for centuries. Like, truly, I see comments all the time where people will talk about how horrible it must be for Will Neff to have to date me, where Will needs to get me under control. Meanwhile, have you seen a Will Neff stream? Have you seen what Will Neff is doing on his streams? Sometimes I think maybe I need to get him under control. But yeah, that is this pervasive belief that opinionated women like myself are out of control, need to be controlled, need to be tamed, need to be submissive, right? Need to be good girls. I need to be a good girl. In his defense, that bonsai is pretty hot. No, let me be clear. That's not coming from people who are fans of Will Neff. Okay, like real community members of his, arch villains. No, that's not coming from Will's community. That's coming from brain dead freaks online who will just use that as a way to disparage me, right? They know Will and I are together, and so they'll just use that as a way. It's not people who are in the community. It's outsider freaks who just go, "Oh, yeah, no, Will Neff. Can't believe that he dates that bitch." There's always this belief that these men are trapped and not making an active choice to be with the women that they are dating. Yes, 1000%. That Will Neff is trapped. That actually, you guys, you have no idea, but right now he is chained up. He is currently chained up so that he can't leave the house. The Lady Macbethification. Yes, Will Neff is a victim. He is a victim. Not only because he is a ginger, but because he dates me.
You want these women to
Hashtag free Will Neff.
be quiet.
For I am he that's born to tame you, Kate.
You are not a victim. Not at all.
Just plain household Kate. Thought, not heart. But temperate as the morn.
Like, this is what they want to happen.
Why? Why is that a standard that women
The
have to
taming of
attain
the
in order to
shrew.
be respected? Is that even what women have to do to be respected? Because when women are shy and reserved, like, say, Kristen Stewart or Summer Walker at the beginning of her career, they're relentlessly bullied for it in the media. Unless someone is actually doing and saying terrible stuff, the concept of training them really just means you want them to be less human. You want them to say the right polished thing at all times, even if they don't believe those things, just to make you, the viewer, more comfortable. And God forbid they actually do receive PR training, because then you'll call them out on that too. Now they're fake. They're doing damage control. Now they're scripted. It's very strict in here. Truthfully, it doesn't matter what Rachel does or doesn't do, what she says or how she says it. It's not about her. It's about your need to punish her. Rachel Zegler's hate campaign is part of an ever-moving and violently popular environment, where women are targeted by droves of individuals.
I mean, it's the same thing with taking away access to abortion. It's not about saving the children. It's not about, we must protect the unborn. It's about controlling. It's about controlling autonomy of women, and that's what this always is about. It's about control, okay? Whether there are people who, because of religious beliefs or whatever else, genuinely believe that something like abortion is evil, ultimately it all comes down to control. You can apply this to any, to any gender, class, race, etc. that is, where rights are restricted, and where the goal is to control these groups by restricting trans people, by restricting the rights of trans people to obtain health care and, anything else they need to exist in this life. It's about controlling them with the purpose of erasing them from society. They do not want trans people to exist publicly, because the truth is that trans people have always existed. We know this. Oh, my Zoom meeting is in 5 minutes. We know trans people have always existed. And so today, when we look at the legislation around trans rights, it is an effort to control trans existence, to have trans people not exist publicly. You can never, you can't erase trans people from this world, but you can cause them to not exist publicly. Let me look at I'll look at the Gremlo clip after I talk to Kat. Will you relink that? I only have 5 minutes and I want to watch a little bit of
and institutions.
this part here.
In the beginning, these attacks are disguised as criticism, but ultimately lack construction. These comments don't facilitate change or accountability on the part of the targeted woman. It just breeds fear and defeat. That's the point. These hate campaigns are not done out of a desire to see someone become better or be held accountable. That's one way we know that they're influenced by our carceral culture. The point isn't restorative justice or rehabilitation. The point is to dehumanize and dispose of people. Furthermore, women who have hate campaigns go on to face a heightened and inhuman sense of scrutiny, where their words, actions, and beliefs are routinely discredited, made fun of, or outright fabricated. For instance, women who are funneled into conservative hate campaigns especially find themselves photoshopped into poorly done thumbnails, with words they've never said or things that they have never done. Threats are plentiful in this environment. Verbal violence is expected. If you happen to be someone who doesn't participate in these campaigns, especially if you condemn them, you were then chastised or made a suspect. Or worse, you're downvoted on Reddit. The goal is to create a normalized environment where women are punished without due process, publicly humiliated, and disposed of by society.
Oh no, downvoted on Reddit!
Cancellation isn't the goal here. These women don't drop off the face of the earth, never to work again or be paid attention to. People still follow them around the internet, leaving abusive comments, flooding publications about them, and generally causing mayhem. As one comment left under Rachel's Instagram put it, "Look who will never have peace now." These hate campaigns are not random. They're organized and calculated to ensure longevity. Netizens and media institutions alike want to inflict as much damage as possible for as long as possible. Once you're in their snares, it's highly unlikely that they'll cut you loose. Look at Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez. Both women have been on the receiving end of a flip-flopping decade-long hate campaign dictated by the fickle temperature of the audience. I made a video about that topic 2 years ago, and y'all are still going. Give it a break. Because of this complexity, Ofi Doki refers to this environment as the misogyny slop ecosystem. The term slop it implies a lot, but it implies a never-ending, poorly constructed media about a subject. Doki and Lorenz reference social media especially, and perhaps even tabloids, as examples of the ecosystem. I would argue that it stretches even farther than that, occurring in wide varieties of media, from print to digital to physical. This ecosystem is not beholden to one platform or one content genre. Like other ecosystems we have covered, especially conservative ones, the MSC tends to feature various factions that do its bidding. Think of the MSC as a sibling to the manosphere, or even a niche within it. Not only does it have various factions, as explained by Taylor Lorenz, but many have also called it a far-right pipeline. It does this by weakening your guard against humiliating and abusing women. What starts as innocuous gossip fueled by thin evidence, such as blind items, snark pages, and word of mouth, becomes unceasing vitriol and misogyny. The misogyny slop ecosystem is fueled in part by social media algorithms. These algorithms train you to accept these hate campaigns by feeding you non-stop content about that week's hated woman. The purpose of the MSC is to violate...
Okay. 1 second. Here we go. Let me pop in here. Okay, start this. Start virtual camera. Start. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. 'Cause his name is Obama. Barack Obama. Okay, here I am. Let me turn this off. Oh my God, look at the background of my stream. No wonder my mom is like, what are you doing? What is happening in your stream room? Okay. Can we do on Zoom with Cat? on Zoom with Kat Tenbarge. Do I have to let her into the room? Barack Obama. Hold on. Let me do this. Let me go like that. Sorry, I just want to make sure that this I have this. Okay. All that matters is the vital Kirby. So true. Very, very, very true. Very true. Oh, alrighty. Let me make sure. Okay. Let me just message Kat. Ready? Okay, ready to go. All right, got that all set up. Okay. Let me make sure that I sent the right link to Kat. Did I say 10:30 a.m.? What time is it? Yes. Yeah, we're good. Finally, look at. Oh, okay. Here she is. Okay. All right. Let me bring her in. Here we go. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Oh my God, look at your shirt.
I know.
You do.
Yes.
It's so good to see you.
You too. I know it's been so long.
It has. And you guys, Kat and I have been trying to schedule this. And then, of course, Twitter has been awful. I cannot use Twitter for I can't rely on Twitter for messages anymore because
No.
it'll
me
just
either.
like delete messages I know I sent, or I will have a notification that I won't see anything. So I've also, Kat, I've been scheduling Matt Bernstein, who I know you're friends
Oh
with.
yeah.
I've listened to your episodes on his podcast. We've been trying to schedule stuff. I'm like, we're taking this to Instagram. All right.
Yeah.
We're
No,
we're leaving.
it is so wild that like Twitter has become essentially unusable. Like you
Yes,
cannot
it's
count
so
on
bad.
any of it.
No, it's awful. Oh no, Elon Musk drove yet another thing into the ground. Shocking.
No surprise there.
Shocking. Anyway, you went to Japan recently as well. How was that?
Yes. It was amazing. I've been wanting to go for literally like 10 years,
Yeah.
and we went for cherry blossom season, which was
Oh.
beautiful. It was like the best time ever. I want to go back so badly.
Yeah, so we went in end of January into February, and I want to go all seasons in Japan and experience it.
Yes, I really want to see like the fall, like trees change color and like all the foliage. It's supposed to be so beautiful.
Yeah, also please don't mind the crap in my background. This is a streaming room in progress.
Literally, same. My fiance and I are watching her parents' dogs. So I'm in like a walk-in closet that I've like fashioned into like a temporary like work
also
room.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So much has happened.
I know.
Much. You went
It's
to
been
Japan.
a very busy year.
You got engaged. It's been a very exciting year for you. And I have you here today because we're going to talk about your series, and you wrote a 3-part series on your Substack Spitfire News. For those of you who don't know, I've had Kat on before, but let me reintroduce Kat. So Kat is a journalist. You went independent the past year, right?
Yes.
Like fully independent, as a lot of my journalist friends and people that I have had on the stream have done. Taylor Lorenz, Kenny Clips, everyone is basically the people whose work I respect are having to go independent for just total freedom, journalistic freedom. So don't forget to support real independent journalists like Kat. But anyway, Kat, you write about the internet culture, politics, media. A lot of your reporting is around gender-based violence, but especially in these big pop culture cases. What's the word I'm looking for? Like in pop culture. So you'll examine the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial and the effects that has had since. You also have you have talked about Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez. You were just with Olay and Taylor. I was watching the conversation you guys were having where you were talking about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. But this is just there's always some new incident that is in the world of gender violence, of sexual abuse that is involving celebrities.
Yes. It's become like baked into the algorithm where I think after Depp Heard was so profitable for so many creators to cover, they are like constantly looking for the next woman to put through like this meat grinder.
And there's always one. There's Rachel Zegler, Melissa Barrera. I mean, there's a nonstop supply line of high profile women that they can do this to. And I think too, we'll get to this, but one thing that I really appreciate in your coverage and that I need people to understand is that this is not just about wealthy, beautiful celebrities who like we are talking about because we're some great stans of. I don't care for half of the women. Like I'm not a fan of Blake Lively. You know, I haven't. Exactly. It's not a matter of that, but it's how you identify that what happens to women like Blake Lively with all the privileges and resources that she has, that the privilege she has do not trickle down to everyday working class women who experience this abuse and harassment. But the way that Blake Lively is ripped apart is treated by the media, both normal media, like not internet-based media, but then also this ecosystem of content creators, right? Digital media creators, and then the general public who consume this. That this has an effect on everyday women who are victims of abuse and a lot of the things that we discuss when we cover these cases involving celebrities. So this is what we're going to be diving into today. Let's just start off. And why did you decide to write this series, and why did you decide to break it into 3 parts?
Yeah, so basically after Depp Heard in 2022, as you said, like I started seeing all of these cases pop up that were basically falling into the same playbook and the same formula. And what it looked like is almost out of nowhere, all of my social media accounts would suddenly be like flooded. I was like being bombarded with negative content about various celebrity women. And it came from various places, like with Rachel Zegler, it had to do with her support of Palestine, and with Megan Thee Stallion, it had to do with the trial that ultimately found Tory Lanez guilty of shooting her. But the type of formula that in particular started to stand out to me was whenever a celebrity woman would accuse a celebrity man of some sort of gender-based violence, you would see the exact same sort of like playbook fall into place. And that's what happened with Blake Lively. And the moment where I got really interested in the case was in December of last year. There was this New York Times like bombshell expose that dropped. And it dropped at the exact same time that Blake Lively filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni outlining these allegations of sexual harassment on the set of the movie It Ends With Us followed by a like social media driven and like tabloid media driven smear campaign that formed the basis of this retaliation complaint. And what really struck me about this is like you saw so many parallels with Depp Heard. Some of the same people were involved, a lot of the same like news outlets and influencers were involved. But what really made the difference here is that Blake Lively's lawyers had been able to subpoena these text messages from Justin Baldoni's publicists, where they outlined like the people and the price and the different ways that they were able to manipulate the opinion on social media. And that really stuck out to me because during Depp Heard, there was a lot of speculation.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believed that there was likely some kind of social media manipulation happening. And what I had suspected, which was like laid out in this Blake Lively complaint, was like all it takes is a little bit of meddling on the social media side, just a little bit of inauthentic boosting of certain narratives or certain opinions. And then all of a sudden it just begins this organic kind of like snowballing effect where it's like with one Reddit post and one comment section, you can turn this like idea that Blake Lively was like too ambitious and took over the movie set. And that can like snowball into just like months of relentless like social media hate against this woman. And that's problematic for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah, because I think what's happening here is that there's organic and also inorganic misogyny and manipulation, right? Where the one text that stood out to me was I think it was Melissa Nathan who said, people love to hate women. Where the New York Times piece was staggering in it confirming what we already suspected and, know to be true, but just its starkness in laying out exactly what has been happening here, but people still refusing to believe it.
Yes.
It's wild. It's like the PR, the very expensive PR team that was hired to smear Blake Lively to try and get ahead of in case, because correct me if I'm wrong, the only reason that she filed a lawsuit was because of the smear campaign. The sexual harassment issues on set, that was brought up in a PR meeting and it was handled internally, but Justin and Jamie Heath were concerned, especially when people on the internet started kind of being like, why is Justin separate from the rest of the cast? They're kind of sleuthing, looking around. They were concerned that would get out, that the sexual harassment PR meeting and just all of the shit that was happening on set would get out. So he hired this PR team to get ahead of it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, yes, because we have all of like the text outlining this, where it basically shows that while they were filming It Ends With Us, like the writer's strike happened. And so the production went on break. And it was during that break that Blake Lively kind of came up with this game plan where she was like, when we get back to set, I'm going to drop this list of proposals, outlining specific types of repeated behavior that have to stop for this movie to get finished. And as she describes it, like they had that meeting, their signatures are on the paper. And she says that after that, things on the set got a lot better. But at the same time, you have Justin Baldoni going to this PR agency that he's worked with for a while, and they start to develop this crisis PR plan. And it's really interesting because crisis PR is like a really commonplace way of navigating sort of like public reputation when it comes to powerful people and big companies. Like you always want to be prepared for a negative narrative to sort of start up. So that way you're not caught off guard, you have a way to respond to it, you're not scrambling in the moment of like a negative PR crisis. But what they did, as outlined in these text messages, was they took it a step further. They went on the offensive, they went on the attack, sort of to get ahead of any kind of narrative that like Blake Lively's camp could have come out with. And it really came to a head with the premiere of the movie last August, because Blake Lively did not want to share the red carpet with Justin Baldoni, and neither did the rest of the cast. It's often framed as like Blake Lively is like this terror powerhouse, like A-lister, but the rest of the cast was also like uncomfortable with Justin Baldoni.
She was also not the only woman on set who had alleged that she was uncomfortable by the way that Justin and Jamie were behaving. Like, I think that's another important thing to recognize, is that she was not the only one who had made a complaint about the inappropriate and harassing behavior that was happening on set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So due to all of this happening behind the scenes, that's why they didn't want to take pictures together. That's why you had a bunch of members of the cast like unfollowing Justin Baldoni on Instagram. But of course, this led to so much online speculation. And over like a 2 to 3 day period, you could see how like the Reddit comments shifted from like wondering what Justin Baldoni had done wrong to wondering what Blake Lively had done wrong. And from there, it just started to like,
it snowballed. It did.
Yes.
I mean, I saw it in front of my very eyes. Like, the thing too is because we went through Heard and Depp, and those who were the few people who were not, whether because they truly believed it or because they were doing so to serve their own interests, were not pro Depp. I think recognized this right away. And we're like, here we go again. I've seen this before. He literally has the same PR agent, PR team that Johnny Depp has. And we're seeing the playbook expanding. Like, that's the other thing. It's not just using the same playbook. It's expanding upon the playbook because each successful smear campaign then just contributes to future successful smear campaigns.
Yes.
So
100%.
I want you to get into talking about I think this is the first part of your series where you talk about the Reddit suppression and manipulation. Because this is not, and again, I'm going to say this multiple times to my chat. This is not just about Blake Lively. This is Blake Lively as one example here because of how much wall-to-wall coverage there has been. And of course, the coverage that is anti-Lively, pro-Baldoni, it's more lucrative, right? That's why a lot of people jump in. And people who are not pro-Baldoni, they get fatigued. They move on. They go, okay, yeah, fuck this guy. But they move on. But the haters, the ones who are benefiting from a pro-Baldoni narrative, they are nonstop. Candace Owens, etc. They are nonstop, and so they effectively control. They keep controlling the narrative. Anyway, so this is not just about Blake Lively. This is about the repercussions that this has, just largely for women who most of whom are not at the level of a Blake Lively.
Exactly. For me, I never really cared about Blake Lively as a celebrity, and I didn't have a particularly like great opinion of her going into any of this. But what you just said is true. It's not really about her, and this could be done to anyone. And it's also so important for people to recognize that like this idea of the perfect victim is never going to exist. There's never going to be like a flawless human being who is victimized by some sort of gender-based violence. There's always going to be a way to sort of deflect from these allegations and turn it back around and make it out that like, oh, well, this woman isn't perfect or she's done all these bad things, therefore why should we care? But the reality is, and what I went into in the first part of my series, is it's actually very easy, very inexpensive, and like frighteningly accessible to be able to manipulate people's opinion on social media platforms like Reddit. And Reddit is a social media platform that I use a lot, and I've used it for a long time. And it's often thought of by people as like one of the more authentic places online where it's like, we're all just real people like anonymously commenting. There isn't as much of a presence of like brands or advertising on Reddit, or at least there doesn't seem to be. But like covertly, there actually is a big presence from like these stakeholders.
You mean Wendy's not in the comments like, then that's the tea, girl.
Exactly. Like it has this whole like appearance of being a different type of social media platform. But there's this one space on Reddit in particular. It's a subreddit called FOMOI.
Yes.
And lots of people are probably familiar with it. It's like grown into one of the most popular pop culture subreddits. And it's like kind of like in opposition to the Instagram account Demois, where like people talk about like celebrity gossip, they talk about entertainment news. And this was a rare place where like Amber Heard's support actually drowned out like hate of Amber Heard after like the Depp Heard trial. FOMOA was like one of the few places on the internet where most people were not like engaging as heavily in the smear campaign. And like you said, the playbooks learn from each other and they develop over time. So what Blake Lively laid out in her complaint is that Justin Baldoni's team like took interest in FOMOA specifically, as well as a few other pop culture subreddits, because they know that like conversation starts in these subreddits and then it gets picked up on by the Daily Mail, or it gets turned into a TikTok or a YouTube video, and it comes to like influence the rest of the conversation happening around something.
That's interesting. Because I'm not really on Reddit. I'm an internet creator who's really not on the internet that much. Try not to be. So I didn't know that a lot of this starts on Reddit.
Yes. Yeah, Reddit is kind of like the breeding ground for a lot of speculation today. And you see this with like YouTube drama, you see this with celebrity gossip, and increasingly you see it for everything, because over the past few years, Google has also ranked Reddit much higher in like search results, and Reddit comments will often be like the citations for those AI summaries that pop up when you Google stuff.
I did learn about that recently.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So like Reddit has gone from kind of a niche platform in like the early 2010s to one of the biggest and most influential social media platforms today. And what like Blake Lively laid out in her complaint and what I investigated was this idea that they were actually like suppressing or boosting specific Reddit comments in connection with this case. And the way that I tested this out is I did kind of like my own experiment that took place at the end of December and the beginning of this year, right after the New York Times article came out. And in that New York Times article, it outlines like who Justin Baldoni's lawyer is and who the guy who was like paid to do this social media manipulation is, like this guy named Judd Wallace and this guy named Brian Friedman. And what I did is I went on Reddit and I searched for all the comments that had been made recently containing their names. And I identified this pattern of downvoting that was very clearly artificially manipulated. Because what I found is like, for example, there's one Business Insider article from a few years back about Justin Baldoni's lawyer paying his own settlement in his own case involving sexual assault allegations against a minor. It was from when he was in college. He was like with his fraternity brothers. He was accused of like this heinous sexual crime. This settlement was paid. And this news came out a few years ago in a Business Insider article. Anytime someone would post a comment to Reddit containing that link, it would get downvoted so far into the negatives that it was no longer visible if you were just scrolling through a thread. So effectively, like these types of comments were being suppressed, as well as comments containing like the name Judd Wallace or any information about this guy's business.
Now, for those who may be boomers in this regard, when you say artificially, when you use that word, are you saying that like they are using companies where it's bots, right? So it's not real people going on Reddit clicking the downvote button. Like these are companies that you can purchase, you know, a package or whatever. People in my chat are laughing at me. But seriously, I think it's important to understand this. Okay, I'm asking for a friend. Can you explain just a little bit what that means?
Yes. And there are a few different ways that this can happen. So like you could do this without having to employ bots. You could even do it like yourself. You could just make a couple different Reddit accounts and log on to each account and just manually downvote these comments. Because all it takes for a comment to go into the negatives, it can be like less than 5 negative downvotes. You can have -2 downvotes and still have that comment be collapsed. But with these comments, what we were seeing happen was like a comment would get posted about Judd Wallace, an hour would go by, and then on the hour mark, all of a sudden it would be like over 100 downvotes, like plummeting at once.
Yeah.
And so that is a sign that there is something automated happening.
Yes.
And again, there are like a couple ways you can do this. You can set these types of like comment bots up yourself, or you can pay like extremely low prices to companies that you can just find by Googling, and you can pay like $1 for 10 downvotes on a post, or you can pay like $10 for 100 downvotes on a post, and all the downvotes will come in at once. And I like to verify this. I actually spoke to an Australian researcher who has been studying this since the 2016 election. He's been studying like the pattern of mass downvoting on Reddit, as well as like mass upvoting, because you can boost content or you can suppress content. And what he told me that like will stick with me forever is he was like, with just $1, you can make something go viral on Reddit.
That is
like if you know what you're doing.
Crazy.
I know.
With just $1, you can make something go viral on Reddit, which is, you know, impacted depending on what it is. Not everything is of equal weight, but in this instance of a case involving sexual harassment and then a subsequent smear campaign, that's having real world implications, consequences.
Yes. And it all has to do with this snowballing effect, because people always say, like, I wasn't like paid off to hate Blake Lively. Like, no one told me to hate Blake Lively. Like, I came to this conclusion on my own. And like my Reddit behaviors are my own. But the thing is, it's like a proven snowballing effect. So the way that like Reddit works, for example, is when things get posted, the like kind of numerical value of like the trajectory of how viral that post will be happens very, very quickly. If something racks up 10 upvotes in less than a minute, that puts it on the trajectory to reach more people and snowball over time. And that's how, like, by the time it gets to the front page of Reddit, most of the engagement is organic, but it put it on people's radar with just a little bit of inorganic attention.
And that's why they dump it at once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And because it's like within the first 10 minutes of being posted, that's like kind of the differentiating factor between something that's going to fall under the radar or like be elevated above the radar.
And that's what's referred to as brigading.
Yes.
Okay. Whether it is like, it's hard to say any form of brigading is like really organic, but I could say to my community, here's a post, everybody go right now at one time and like it or not like it, retweet it, etc. So that's me directing the human beings who are in my chat, but it's still not like organic in, oh, I just put this post out, and people without any type of manipulation, whether it's bots or, you know, humans who I'm directing because I am their streamer. So this is what this concept is. And this is what happened, what you found when you were looking into how the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively news was being talked about in these subreddits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was like on the day of the premiere and the day after the premiere, the conversation was like already really hot because people were like, why didn't they take any pictures together? Why were they unfollowing each other? And the narrative that gained a lot of speed really quickly was that the reason why Justin Baldoni wasn't there is because Blake Lively was like a terrible person to work with, and that she had tried to like take over the set of the movie. And that's the exact narrative that then showed up 6 months later in Justin Baldoni's countersuit. And that's like his counterclaims is like, I didn't harass her. She like went out of her way to derail the movie and like take it away from me, like what was rightfully mine.
Yeah. And what already exists in our society is this belief that, you know, women, when they're difficult, that's a problem. And the more visible you are, and Blake Lively being a celebrity, hyper visible, big spotlight, is you are balancing this act of being likable and the second that you say or do anything that changes that, then you have a big problem. To be likable as a woman, and of course, just the more visible you become, the more that you are doing that balancing act because you're in front of the public. You can't say or do anything that is going to be at all contentious, at all going to rock the boat, because that then will affect your likability, the way people perceive you as likable. And so that's what I remember seeing, is a lot of people being like, you know what, actually Blake Lively's a fucking bitch. I actually hate her, where they weren't even giving any attention to the actual allegations, to the facts that we knew that we knew. They had this meeting that Jamie and Justin had signed their names. They said, okay, sorry, we'll stop. None of that mattered because the perception of Blake Lively being difficult, you know, these things in her past, just the way that people felt about her personally then, where a lot of people too probably didn't even have an opinion before, but then we're like, oh no, fuck her. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And like you saw this happen the summer of the movie premiere last summer, where it was like tons of things being brought up from Blake Lively's past, like old interview clips of her where people were like, oh, she's such a mean girl, or like people were bringing up actual controversies involving her, like when she got married at a plantation. And so it creates this sort of foundation of like, we don't like Blake Lively, we're not giving her the benefit of the doubt, we're actually coming into it with like a bias against her. And then similarly to what you saw happen to Amber Heard, most of the discussion about this case is like a deflection from what the case is actually about. Very few people are talking about what's really in the lawsuits. They're talking about like all of this stuff to the side of it, like Blake Lively's friendship with Taylor Swift, and did she betray Taylor Swift?
Right.
And like,
you're like, we have lost the plot.
We've totally lost the plot. And that is so intentional from Justin Baldoni's side. His lawyer is not like a traditional trial lawyer. His lawyer is like a Hollywood attack dog. There have been profiles done on him and his methods. And what he does is he plays the media and he plays the public, and he knows how to do it so well. Just in the past couple of weeks, a filing that he inserted into the court docket was almost immediately struck. And the judge was like, we're going to sanction you if you keep doing this. But the damage was already done. It was a filing about like Taylor Swift being threatened by Blake Lively.
Yes. When
and
his team tried to subpoena her.
Yes.
Justin's team tried to, because they know they're looking at this from the court of public opinion. And they're like, literally, if we can bring the Swifties into this, if we can present this as Taylor and Blake have had there's a massive rift because of what Blake has done to Taylor because of Justin. And now she's trying to bring Taylor in, even though they were the ones trying to subpoena her. Then they're hoping that the massive Taylor Swift fan base, who we know are very online and will organize in defense of their queen, will get involved and help to further spin things in Justin Baldoni's direction. And so my question for you, I want you to explain how the court of public opinion is not just these days what people think, that there are actual consequences to the court of public opinion believing something false to be true. It's not just a matter of like, oh yeah, well that sucks that a lot of people have been misled. Like you wrote in your piece that it's very likely if this goes to trial, that how do you have a jury who's not already been swayed by the massive coverage that they have consumed that has skewed so much of what this really is about?
100%. And I feel like we are seeing a trajectory that has been in motion for a long time. I always go back to Depp v. Heard because the parallels are just so pervasive. But even before that, I think you can go all the way back to O.J. Simpson and even before that. But it's like O.J. Simpson, you had like the TV coverage of this, that every American was like glued to the screen watching like the police chase in the Bronco and like knowing sort of the legacy of OJ. That had an unmistakable, like determinable outcome in how that case played out in court. We saw the same thing with Depp v. Heard, which I think is a much more synonymous context to what's happening with Blake Lively, where by the time the jury was actually in that courtroom, they weren't sequestered, which means that they would go home at the end of each day. And even if you weren't on your phone, they weren't supposed to be looking up information about the case, and they were supposed to be talking to anyone about the case. But even if you weren't, there was just so much messaging.
You couldn't avoid it. Yeah.
No, it was unavoidable. It was so pro Johnny Depp and so anti Amber Heard throughout the duration of that trial that even if you were just walking down the street, you would see like bar signs that were like pro Johnny Depp, anti Amber Heard.
Yes, they would have tip jars. They would have literally, you would go into a coffee shop, tip jars for Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. And then people will post photos, more tips being in a Johnny Depp jar. Like, exactly. This was not just conversation happening online. This was happening offline, like in the real world, fucking tip jars.
Yes.
To prove a point that Johnny's more popular than Amber.
Yes. And you see like the online conversation influence like the off world, like the society that we're navigating. And you also see just like in cases today, this happens all the time. There was recently like a high profile incident where a judge made like a declaration, and people in the jury were getting news alerts on their phone, like with that information that they weren't supposed to have. So it's like, we've reached a point in our society where our like technology is so present that it's really hard to do the actual work of separating a jury from the outside opinion surrounding a high profile trial. And I think this is going to become like a bigger and bigger problem.
Yes.
But with like Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, I don't think there's a single person in like the potential jury pool, especially by the time we get to March of 2026. Like this media circus is just like exhausting and almost impossible to avoid. So people going into that jury selection process are going to know, like whether it's very consciously or even subconsciously, they're going to know that Justin Baldoni is more popular in this case than Blake Lively, and they're going to associate that with her. Like they're going to have a bias against her going into this process.
I want to give two quick examples. So I went to dinner a couple months ago with my girlfriends, not content creators, normies. They're not on Reddit. They're not on Twitter. They use like Facebook and Instagram. And we were sitting around and they go, "Oh, well, Caroline, you're a pop culture girly. I want to ask you about this Justin and Blake Lively bullshit. Like, I can't escape it. It's everywhere." I said, "Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know? Like, you want me to give you TLDR?" And the things that they were saying it was not surprising, but it was still alarming, where they were like, "Oh, well, no, I heard that she's a bitch, that she actually was in love with him." I said, "Where did you get that?" I'm like, where did you get that? And they're like, I don't know, because they're just scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. They're not seeking this information out. They're not doing research, but it's just still in their faces. And so peripherally, they are being presented the narrative that Justin is a victim. And so even though they had asked me, and I was like, yes, I have read the court filings. Like I have consumed a lot of what is happening here. They were still pushing back with the most insane, like there's a lot of lies and there's a lot of, but like the craziest ones of, oh, she's been in love with him, and that's why Ryan had to get involved. And that's why then the two of them together decided to smear Justin because he rebuked Blake. I'm like, where is this coming from? So that's instance number one, where every single girl at the table, besides one, had asked, like, presented this as, oh, I don't know anything about this. But then when I was trying to explain what's going on here, we're pushing back with oh yeah, well, I heard that. I said, what do you mean I heard? Where did you see this? Where is this coming from? Did you go on YouTube and type Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, or were you just scrolling through and you saw a video of a dog and then you saw a video of someone being like, Blake Lively is a whore?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, that's what it is. And then the other story is, I was at a party and I was talking to someone who I hadn't seen in a while who manages content creators, and he was talking about this gay guy who's been blowing up. He's like, yeah, he's there's like Business Insiders doing a piece on him, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, oh, what's his name? And he told me, and I said, I know that name because I have started to see his content everywhere. He has smaller numbers than I do on social media, and yet I'm seeing his shit everywhere because it is very specifically anti-Blake Lively, pro-Justin content. And I said to my friend who I was catching up with, I said, does he really believe this stuff? And he essentially was like, oh no, but this is just what, like, he's blowing up because of it. So he's really focusing heavily on it, which these are things that we know. We've already suspected this to be the case, that a lot of these content creators who jump into this economy of exactly what we're talking about don't even believe these things, but they know that it's lucrative. They know that it will bring them higher views and therefore more money if they take this approach.
Yes, 100%. And it's like, with regards to the first example, I also have heard this narrative. Like, I remember I was getting my hair cut like several months ago, and we were talking about work, and I was telling the person doing my hair like the kinds of things that I covered, and she brought up the Blake Lively stuff, and she was like, yeah, like I believe that like she was actually in love with him. And it's like, this narrative is so pervasive, and it's a lot of women who I've heard saying it, and I'm like, it's so misogynistic. It's like honestly unholy levels of like misogyny, because I'm like, imagine like, put yourself, even if you hate this woman, put yourself in the shoes of anyone who's going through like a situation where your boss is sexually harassing you at work, and then imagine that people are like, she's in love with him. That is,
which they
like,
say, but they do. That is something that has been said forever, is used as is used as a way to discredit women who talk about the sexual harassment that they're experiencing at their workplace. It's like,
yep, we just keep falling into this pattern over and over and over again. And it's because there is a cultural script around how like men and women behave in social settings. And it is an inherently conservative script. It's the same reason why like Mike Pence was like, I can't be alone in a room with a woman who isn't my wife.
Who's my wife, who I call mother.
Yes. And it's like, people hear stuff like that and they make fun of it, but then it's the same people who are like, well, Blake Lively was probably in love with him. And I'm like, do you not realize that this is the exact same rhetoric that conservatives use to explain why women shouldn't even be allowed to be in the workplace? Like, this is the exact rhetoric that's used to take away our rights and like keep us in a like submissive position.
I think about the comments that Henry Cavill made in like a GQ profile in 2018, where he said, you know, I'm old school, I'm traditional, I love to, you know, approach a woman, ask her out, but now I'm worried about being called a rapist. Like that rhetoric there, which we see all the time, where it's like, oh, can't even look at a woman or you'll be accused of rape. Oh, all these women out here, they are just looking to, they're evil. They are looking to falsely smear any man who even looks in their direction, who just because he's a man.
Yes. And like, it also is crazy to me because it's like, if you sit down and listen to what Andrew Tate talks about, it is literally like indistinguishable from how people will talk about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And it's like, you have some content creators like Candace Owens who are very straightforwardly, Candace Owens has said this out loud. Like, she said it to Taylor Lorenz. She talks about it all the time. She's like, my goal is to undermine the Me Too movement.
Yes, I've talked about this.
Yep. Like, she's like, my goal is to use this to make women conservative.
She's explicit in this. And then same with Brett Cooper, who I know, I read Taylor's piece. Brett said, I purposefully rebranded to being a pop culture commentator because that way it lowers the stakes of what I'm doing here, right? If you're apolitical pop culture, you know, I don't do politics, etc., you can cast your net on a wider audience. And that's something that Candace has talked about as well, was she's bragging about, look how much bigger my numbers have gotten when I started doing wall-to-wall coverage of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, when I start being the like celebrity pop culture news girly. And we've seen, I have so many anecdotes of this, of someone who's like, oh my God, my mom recently said to me, do you know who Candace Owens is? I've been listening to her talk about the Justin and Blake. And then when, you know, the mom's daughter explains that Candace Owens is a right-wing ideologue who is incredibly dangerous with the things that she believes in and the platform that she has, they're like, oh, well, I didn't know any of that. I was just there for like the celebrity tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, literally, this is the radicalization pipeline in the same way that like Andrew Tate was the radicalization pipeline for young men. Like Blake Lively is very cleanly the way that so many liberal women or women who consider themselves apolitical or left-leaning are able to like watch this video, and then your YouTube recommendations are going to take you right to Candace Owens's like what's it called, transvestigating.
Yes,
like when she's like transvestigating like Emmanuel Macron's wife, like the French female, like his prime minister's wife.
Yes.
Yes, and now she's also trying to like exculpate Harvey Weinstein.
She
and
is
say that
putting
he was
out
innocent.
Ace theories. It's the first interview he's done in 8 years. So let's say that you're, you know, I'm just some 50-year-old lady who I don't really get involved in politics. I'm not, you know, seeking out political content. I am watching Candace Owens nonstop talking about Blake and Justin, and it's priming me to believe that maybe actually Harvey Weinstein, maybe I've been misled here. I thought he was a monster, but after this Blake Lively thing and then the Amber Heard thing, maybe this has all been a giant misunderstanding. And actually, Harvey has been the victim of a smear campaign. It's crazy that they will use what is happening to these victims as a way to try and, like, they'll say Harvey's being smeared, right? They'll say Justin's being smeared, that Johnny's being smeared, when that's what's happening to their victims.
Yes.
But it's used as a way to defend the abusers. And I mean, it's all part of Darvo, et cetera. But
yeah. It's Darvo to a T. And it's also like, this is in essence the modern conservative project. Like, if you can be led to believe that Harvey Weinstein is innocent, you are already basically in the boat of like voting for and supporting Donald Trump.
Yes.
Because the ideology is exactly the same.
Yeah. And another thing with Brett Cooper and Taylor's piece, Brett, when she left the Daily Wire and rebranded, what was her first video on? Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
Love you,
and
girls,
then
Kwan hard.
You want to know what like was served up next? A video about defunding the Department of Education. So you're searching on YouTube, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. Brett Cooper's video has 300,000 views. It's going to pop up. You click that, you watch it, you go, oh, I like this. I like this person. Oh, wow. I didn't know any of this stuff. Let me see what's next. Let me see what's like.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a very alarming because people like me and you and, we feel few and far between. You know, it's like those of us who are on the other side of things, who are trying to combat this, we all collab with each other because it's a very small circle, right?
Yes.
It's like, I saw you guys go on Matt Bernstein's podcast and I reached out to Matt, and it's this circle that I want to grow. But it does feel like I was watching Sean Spears' video earlier on stream just to prep my community for this conversation that we were having. But we are the minority.
Yeah.
We are the minority because it is pushing a boulder up a hill. It is not lucrative. It is very hard to be combating this because you're just getting hit with shit on all sides.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a conservative like podcaster or content creator doing the exact same thing, but from the complete opposite perspective, there are people literally willing to just like hand you money. If you like become like a conservative culture war fighter, you will literally just get handed straight up money, no strings attached. People, they will give you equipment. They will outfit you with a studio. Like, a lot of these conservative podcasters and influencers are getting funding from really shady places. Like, obviously there was the story about Tenet Media and like Tim Pool and all of these conservatives getting funded by Russia. Like,
literally the state of Russia. Yes.
Yes. Like, Russia will, and the reason that they do this, and the reason that like these major conservative interest groups and billionaires are also funding these creators, the reason why they do this is because they know that it works. And I do have faith that at some point, like, the pendulum is going to swing backwards, but they're at such an advantage because of all of the resources they have behind them and all of the years that they've spent, honestly, like, steering the YouTube algorithm in the direction of like incentivizing rage and incentivizing like this very specific type of rage that's like rage against feminism, rage against social justice, rage against like the democratic billionaires or like whoever these like boogeymen are.
Yeah, and what the right is so good at and what they've done effectively for years, like, this is not something new. They have been doing this for decades, is they move the conversation away from economic concerns to culture concerns, right? So if you can distract people from their economic circumstances, and then you're over here slashing Medicaid and other social programs that people rely on, and you distract them, you dangle the carrot with all of these culture wars, all these battles within the culture war, then it works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's why billionaires such as Donald Trump can paint people on the left as elites.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they've done is shift this away from economic. So Donald Trump is a billionaire. And if anybody is, if you are looking at him and recognizing that he is in an economic status that is well above yours, then you're going to call bullshit on everything that he's saying. But if you look at him, you go, okay, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's right in that these elites, these liberal left elites who turn their nose down on us because he and the right have transformed these concerns into culture ones rather than like the root of it is of course economic. Okay. The root of it is people's material conditions, but it's being presented in this, in the form of like Disney being woke, that the problem here is that of DEI, right? Where it distracts people. Mm-hmm. And it focuses their attention there, right? You distract them with the fight against trans people. Trans people who are 1% of the population, who have nothing to do, who are not the reason that your material conditions suck ass, but because this is all part of how the right for decades have shifted, because they know their policies aren't popular. Mm-hmm. Okay. They know that they are not the party for the working class. But when they put themselves on the same line of this culture war and be like, we are fighting hand in hand, a billionaire next to a blue collar worker, because your culture matters, right? Like your way of life. You work in a factory and your way of life is being threatened by black pilots.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like within material conditions, workplace harassment and like workplace sexual harassment fits so cleanly into this model, because it's like what's really threatening women is that like if they can go into the workforce and experience unequal treatment because their male boss has like the ability to harass them and literally like violate them on the basis of their gender, and there's no form of accountability for that because we've weakened these protections and we've created this victim blaming rhetoric, that puts women in worse material conditions. Mm-hmm. That means you have to leave your job. You've been harassed out of your position. Now you need to get a lower paying job. Yes. And it ultimately, like the ultimate aim is to get women out of the workforce entirely and have them relegated to the sphere of domestic labor. And that battle that affects all women is then channeled into this very specific case involving this really privileged woman so that everyone can be like, I don't identify with Blake Lively, so this issue will never come back to affect me. But it will, because while Blake Lively's like wealth and privilege does not trickle down, the attacks against her on the basis of her gender, that does trickle down.
Yes.
And that does disadvantage women.
That does. And this is the whole point of William? Sorry, 1 second.
No, don't worry.
I think my dog was scratching at my door. Will is my boyfriend, but my dog Farley. Okay, I think he's on the phone. I heard this like scratch. Like, he's probably trying to get in to see mother. What was I saying? Yes. So the whole purpose of continuing to have these conversations, whether it's you writing on your Substack or me talking about this on stream, is that this is the larger problem. Mm-hmm. And it's very frustrating when this gets dismissed by people on the left because they see rich lady Blake Lively and go, who gives a fuck? Like, this doesn't have, I care about poor and working class women, and Blake Lively is so far far from that. Like, she is of a class that I'm not going to spend any time analyzing this, etc. They'll do that. And then meanwhile, It's like those on the other side of the aisle, they seize this moment and they are like a dog with a bone and they will never let it go. And so they control the narrative. They affect how the masses think. And so then it affects these women who people on the left purport to care about, who are dismissing something like Amber's, the sexual harassment against Amber, the abuse Amber dealt with, the abuse that Blake Lively dealt with, the smear campaigns. And there are real world consequences to this. I remember after Amber lost the defamation case that men, like normal everyday men who were abusive would refer to their girlfriends and wives as Amber Heards.
Yes.
That became a part of our vernacular, where you saw recently Andrew Tate use Amber Heard to describe one of his exes who had accused him of domestic violence and posted photos of it. And he was just like, Amber Heard, because we all know what that means now. Amber Heard, calling a woman Amber Heard means she's a lying bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And men of all class levels, race, etc., that they learn from that.
Yep. Yeah. There's one story that I focus on in part 3 that I had reported on this last year or the year before. And it just goes to show that like no woman is safe from this. And it does affect, like it empowers men at every class level and it disempowers women at every class level. Because a couple years ago, right after the Depp Heard trial wrapped, I learned about this case involving this like everyday, she's a single mom, she's like raising kids, and she had like a very small TikTok presence, like maybe like 20,000 TikTok followers max. And she was just making these like creative TikToks, like TikToks to talk about like recovering from PTSD. One of her former husband actually like died in a motorcycle crash, and she remarried this guy who was in the military, and they got divorced after like a year, and she had made allegations against him of like sexual assault, physical assault, emotional and psychological abuse, and he got discharged from the Coast Guard because they investigated it and they found that she was telling the truth. So they discharged this guy. He went through the military judicial process, which is not friendly to victims at all.
No, like that's crazy. That's a rare example of someone in the military facing consequences for their abusive actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she had this court ruling essentially that she was in the right. But the ex went on TikTok and posted these videos of her where she's like reacting in the moment to the abusive situation. She's on the floor, she's crying, she's screaming, and he framed these out of context, and immediately these went viral on TikTok, Reddit, YouTube. They were on the front page of everything. And people were just ripping this woman to shreds. They were saying that he was the victim of her, that he had escaped from her, that she was crazy. They called her Amber Heard. They like compared her to the character of Pearl from the movie Pearl.
Oh, God.
And
Jesus.
She's still dealing with this to this day. She's still dealing with harassment for years now because of these viral videos. And she had all of these men's rights creators like make content about this, and they like profited from that content. And so it's like this, you don't have to be a famous celebrity for this to happen to you. You don't even have to be like online for this to happen to you. Like she didn't even need to have been on TikTok. He was the one who posted them to TikTok. So it's just like, this is a threat and this is a formula of content and of like anti-feminist thought that can be used to harm anyone.
Yes. And we've seen multiple examples of this, of normal people where there's a woman in an abusive situation, guy goes online, smears her. She then subsequently has to deal with psychopaths online. But also then if you Google her name, if you look her up, if you're an employer, you look her up, you're like, oh, what is this? This when you do something on the internet, it does not just mean it stays on the internet. That's it. So as long as you're not online, no big deal, which that in and of itself is a massive issue. It's like, it's not okay that the internet is used like everyone should have the freedom to use the internet, to enjoy the internet, to have a presence on the internet, and not have to go into hiding, not have to delete their social media because they're the victims of harassment. But additionally, it's like same with deepfakes, all that, where the one of the reasons that AI deepfakes are so and revenge porn are so awful and have serious consequences for the victims of them is because it affects what happens in their lives off of the internet. So an employer gets sent videos, or you're applying for a job and sees porn of you online, albeit AI, it's fake, or if it's, real photos, but that were posted in a revenge porn type situation, and they go, ooh, right? Like, it's very serious.
It's really serious. And it's like, it's ultimately part of this larger product to push women out of public life and sort of undo the gains of first and second wave feminism. Like, this is coming from the same group of people who don't even think women should have the right to vote. They want women to be silent. They want them to be at home. They want them relegated to the domestic sphere, and they want them to be subjected to basically the whims of men. And this is all part of that. Social media and the online world are one of the largest public spheres today. So not being able to have access to them due to harassment and abuse puts you at a disadvantage in so many different ways. It makes it harder to have a social life, to have a job. And ultimately, as you said, these things do reach outside the confines of the internet. Even just putting the thought in someone's head that like revenge porn or a deepfake could exist, that causes someone in power to think of you differently. Even if it's just imagining in their head, like now that they've imagined you in this position of being abused, that will change their real life actions and behaviors toward you.
So in the third part of your series, you say there will be another Blake Lively. It is the reality that Blake Lively was not the first nor the last to be a celebrity or non-celebrity woman who has to deal with this. And the question is like, what the fuck do we do? What do we do?
I ask myself this every day, and part of me thinks, and this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with like, there's a small but like growing leftist coalition of creators online. And something that I've talked about with other creators who have touched on these topics a lot is like this idea that the reason why the framing that like Blake Lively is the villain wins is because most people who are making content, including like the second anecdote with that guy who's like, he doesn't believe in it, but he knows this is the way to get views and get money. So it's like, in order to change that formula, in order to make it like more popular and profitable to support women, there has to be like a broader cultural shift. And I think that like individuals can contribute to that either by making content about these cases, like kind of matching the energy of what's happening on the anti-Blake Lively side, but also like people consuming content have got to be more conscious about like what they're seeing on their feeds. And we're at a massive disadvantage structurally in so many different ways because social media platforms don't want us to like make this change. It would threaten their business model if people were more consciously and like determinedly like deciding what they saw on social media. They want us like scrolling, they want
mindlessly
our brains, like soaking
being fed what we're being fed.
But I think
well, I was just going to say, it's hard, though, because these fuckers are relentless. The Quartering never tires making videos of Rachel Zegler. Never. He puts out because it's all that their content is. Same with, like, I don't know if you know Alyssa Mercante.
Yes.
Poor thing. My God. The people who are harassing her, it's like, this is their content. So they are putting out videos, multiple videos a day. So for me, it's like there's so much to cover always.
Yes.
I will touch on something, but I'm not like all day, every day on my stream covering Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively in the way that like a Candace Owens on her YouTube channel is doing that, because there is the fatigue around it. There is the, okay, I have a lot of things that I do want to, that unfortunately a lot of bad things that are going on that I want to like bring attention to.
Totally.
And so it's tough because the people who really profit from this type of content, like approaching it this way, this is all that they do. Like, you know, that one journalist, Kirsty Fleja or whatever the hell her name is. Oh my God. She was the one who the interview clip went viral where Blake was being a bitch to this poor journalist who asked her about being pregnant, etc. Yada, yada. I fell for that. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I looked at that. I was like, oh, that's not good. And then realized what I got swept up in. She has, since that moment where people like, suddenly she had a little bit of popularity. People were siding with her. Now, nonstop, all she does on YouTube and has gained tons of followers, is making money off of it, makes anti-Blake Lively videos.
Yes, I actually went and counted. Because I wrote this out in a draft, because since that video went viral, she's uploaded more than 120 YouTube videos this year alone.
120
about Blake Lively and her husband.
Yes, and they do views. I see them all over the place.
Yep, I'm sure I did that count like 2 weeks ago, so it's probably
there's more.
Like
she does one like every single day.
She does them every day, and those videos alone have over 23 million views.
Yes, and it's so transparent. It is so transparent that this is a person who a clip of an interview that she did went viral. People were like, fuck Blake Lively, support to this journalist. She saw this as an opportunity. Because she was a nobody, right? Like, she was not a content creator. She saw the opportunity and she seized it. And now this is what she does nonstop.
And I'm sure she makes so much money from it. And I'm sure, and the thing is, YouTube makes even more money from it than she does, which is why the platform has no incentive and no desire to like put a stop to this.
Of course not, which is why it's always insane to talk about like, oh, the censorship, we need to ban people on Twitch, censor on Twitch. It's like, do you see what's happening on YouTube? They don't do shit, okay? Of course not. And yet all the attention is on a platform like Twitch versus YouTube, where nobody seems to care about the endless crap and slop and harm that is perpetuated from the endless supply of creators on that platform.
Yeah. I had a different story involving a creator or a celebrity who was like being targeted in all of these AI generated YouTube videos. Like, the videos were straight up, like the thumbnails were AI. There was stories claiming that he had been arrested, all of this like slander. And this was a celebrity who had access to really expensive lawyers, and they reached out to YouTube on his behalf and were just like so shocked at the realization that the platform did not care and did not plan to do anything about it. Like, I remember talking to those lawyers and they were just like, it had clicked for them. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how dire this situation is, that like Google does not care. They don't care who you are. It doesn't matter if you're an A-list celebrity or like an everyday next door person. They will not help you. They will not like do anything to help you if the platform is ruining your life.
Sorry, guys.
It's so bleak.
So bleak. Yeah, I mean, God, I feel like a broken record saying this, but it is exhausting as a leftist female content creator who, I mean, my main platform is Twitch. Taylor's been like, please make YouTube videos. Please. We're drowning out here. I'm like, I know, my time and energy is spent mostly live streaming, and then my editor will cut videos from it. But it is very frustrating because of what I have to, and you and Taylor and everyone else has to deal with from the right, but then also from the left, where it's like, I'm dismissed all the time. Funny enough, it's like I get dismissed because I do pop culture, whereas then all these other right-wing girlies, it's like they grow because they rebrand as pop culture creators. So like leftist political heads will go, Caroline Kwan, that's if you want like celebrity tea, if you want like TMZ, you know, sure, that's go watch her, but I'm going to go consume politics from a real political commentator. And it's like, how is this a thing that's hurting me? Whereas then Candace Owens, Brett Cooper, all these women on the right who've rebranded purposefully, it benefits them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the right, like, does understand, and the left needs to catch up to this, because people on the right do recognize that culture is the ultimate battleground where hearts and minds are changed.
Yes.
Like, politics is downstream of culture, not the other way around, because the average person is not engaged in politics. Like, most people are politics phobic. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. So instead, they engage with politics through the totem of pop culture, which is what they do want to talk about.
Yeah, which is why the 2024 election, ain't nobody talking about policies, right?
No.
All that shit was off the table because it was just about vibes.
It was just about vibes.
It was about vibes. It was about culture.
Podcasters and influencers.
Yes, and we've seen the results of it. So you're so right in that most people, when they are engaging with politics, it's through the lens of pop culture. It's through mass media. It's like, they called, the example that you used of that poor woman whose ex had made TikTok videos of her, calling her Pearl, right? Like using a film, a horror movie that came out 2 years ago.
Yep.
In their analyzing of this instance of domestic violence.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And it's also why, like, Trump and Elon will post AI generated images of themselves as like characters from Star Wars, because people view like real politics through the lens of Star Wars and Marvel and Iron Man. Yeah,
it's why Nazis have tried to reclaim movies like The Matrix and say like the whole red pill analogy, it being like, the thing that all of these Andrew Tates, etc., talk about, right? Taking the red pill, which we know what that means because of the movie The Matrix, because of how deeply ingrained that film is within our culture. So this concept of the red pill that is being talked about by politicians, that they use this terminology because of how the average person understands what that is. They're like, oh yeah, red pill, the truth. Don't be sheeple.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's like, wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. It drives me crazy that like political wonks will always be like, we need to like get to the bottom of what policies people care about. And I'm like, let me stop you right there. People don't care about policy. You say the word policy and people are tuning out. They care about like what movie they watched growing up. And that is like as deep as a lot of like political participation and thought goes for a lot of people. The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Marvel. There's a reason why people talk about these like fictional properties so much in their political analysis, because that's what they know. And I honestly like, I can relate to that, because it's like, oftentimes I will compare things that I see in real life to like, that reminds me of like this scene in the Hunger Games. Like, it's not a bad thing to do. It's just like, once we realize that that's the language that people are able to communicate with, like collectively, then we can actually reach them through that language.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that Tim Walz was really good at was meeting people where they were at, right? Talking about being neighbors, not getting into the weeds with complicated language and etc. And there is something about like on the left knowing how to communicate in the most effective ways, where popular culture is culture that is popular because it's consumed by the masses, right? Everybody knows Star Wars. Everybody knows Harry Potter. Everyone knows the Hunger Games. Everyone knows the Matrix. Like, popular culture is, and politics are always intertwined. And it is why I have tried to really approach doing political commentary and analysis through popular culture. One of my favorite YouTube channels, Pop Culture Detective. Watch a lot of his videos. Super great. Exactly the type of thing I try to do here on stream. And it's like, there's still this disconnect with the left, even though they know about what the culture wars, like they see all this shit.
Yep.
Right? Like woke
Yep.
and DEI and Disney, and that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still, I don't know. It's like there just still seems to be a disconnect with people online who are leftists and consume politics, and then the broader kind of content sphere of people who are either explicitly left or lean left, creating content around a case like that of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, but there not being the connection from the political consumers that this is a part, that it's all part of the same sphere of politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know how else to explain it. It's like if I sit here and I watch whatever video Donald Trump, CNN, Donald Trump's on CNN. Okay, now I'm doing politics. But if I talk about the latest Candace Owens video where her goal is to dismantle a movement for social progress, right? And here she is talking about Justin and Blake. Like, people who want politics will tune out. They'll go, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm not interested in this." They don't see the connection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think part of it comes from like people who really care about politics almost want to like view themselves. You run into this attitude all the time. It's like they want to view themselves as better than other people. Mm-hmm. So they get turned off by things that they perceive as being like too popular. But that in itself is a trap. And I think that like you see people on the right, like you see like people like Matt Walsh, I think has talked about this, where it's like, he was like, we need to recapture culture. And he was saying that for like years in the 2010s when like the reigning culture tended to push people in a more progressive direction. And they did it through like these kind of like grassroots, relying on social media, like reaching people through these mediums where they could go around like gatekeepers and make their own social media platforms and make their own mainstream media. And eventually by doing that, they were able to actually compete with like the established, more progressive media. And now you have like the Disneys of the world being like, we're going to take out diversity in our films because we're afraid now of like what that's going to lead to.
Yes, because of all these cries of DEI and wokeness being what's ruining society. It's like they are listening to these things that are the effects of the culture war that the right has so efficiently stirred up and provided as a distraction. And so, yeah, we do see Disney and private companies who Trump can't force them, right? Like, these are private companies going, we're ending our DEI. We're ending our diversity initiatives. They like, this is impacting these workplaces, right? All of these people who have been stirred up into fighting against wokeism. And then these private companies going, well, guess we got to listen to them. Guess we got to get rid of DEI.
Exactly.
And so then it's like all of these, everything contributes to it. Whether it's Donald Trump getting up there and saying, DEI is what's ruining the airline industry, or the Quartering or Asmongold or any of these other people who, I mean, Asmon does more now than just talk about video games, but them nonstop for years talking about woke characters in video games.
Yep.
It's all contributing, whether it's something that is happening online or it's happening not online. It's still shaping our culture. It's shaping our society.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was one person who was really instrumental in the Amber Heard like smear campaign. And I remember going back on his channel and going all the way back to the beginning to see what led him down this path of covering Amber Heard day in, day out, hundreds of videos about her. And he started off by doing like tech review unboxing videos, and like no one watched them. And then he started talking about like comic books, and like a few more people watched them. And then he started talking about comic books through the lens that like women in the comics book industry were like destroying it. And then a lot of people started watching them. Then he covered like Star Wars and how women were destroying Star Wars. The numbers go up and up and up. Finally, when he started covering Amber Heard on a daily basis, that is when his channel peaked. And at that peak, I know for a fact, I have heard it on very good information, that he was able to make like $1 million the year of like 2022.
Oh my God. It's very profitable.
It's very profitable.
Yeah, it is. Of course, right as we were talking about DEI, someone came in. DEI has lost the plot. I love how you're referring, Chatter, to DEI as if it's like a person. DEI has lost the plot. What does that mean? But that's the thing. It's like, where is that? Right. What are you consuming nonstop that then has you go, DEI has become a joke. It's gone way too far. DEI has lost the plot. Do you even know what those words mean? Do you even know what you're saying? Or are you just repeating from the endless trough of slop that you consume on a daily basis? Whether you are watching YouTube or scrolling on Twitter or hanging out in Reddit and you see shit like DEI has lost the plot, and you go, yeah, you nod along to that. You don't think critically at all. You don't even understand what that means. And you just go, yeah, DEI has lost the plot. Like,
it's crazy.
Just start off, what does DEI even stand for?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No, truly.
People just repeating things that they don't know. And the last thing I will say before I want you to pitch, or before I want you to talk about whatever you have coming up and how we can support you, and then I know you have to go. I remember this is before I started streaming, and I was on vacation with my siblings, and they were like, the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing got brought up, and all of them were like, oh yeah, well, doesn't she suck? Isn't she? I don't really know anything about this, but I heard that she's really shitty. It literally took me 10 seconds of just pushing back and presenting information that I knew that they did not know. And they were like, you're the only person who I have heard not be pro Johnny Depp. Like my siblings, who of course, you know, they trust me. They are not random fucks on the internet who are like, go kill yourself. Where I was the first person that they had heard say anything that was not the just purely pro Depp, you know, team Johnny narrative. And all that took was 10 seconds, literally, because it was the first time that they had heard that, and they went, oh shit, wow, I had no idea. And then they felt bad. They're like, oh my God, I had no idea. This was just what I was seeing all over the internet. I was like, no, I know. Trust me, I know. Not even just the internet, but media in general. Yep. Okay, Kat, you have Spitfire News. Mm-hmm. Let me link that again. Actually, it is already linked. Thank you, Katie. But Kat has Spitfire News, which is her Substack. And then, is there anything exciting that you're working on that we should be looking out for?
I do have some things that I'm working on. I actually am later this summer going to hopefully be coming to YouTube myself and launching my channel.
Yes.
So that is something that I'm working on.
Join us.
Yes.
Join the content creation.
So yes, I'll be writing about that and like sharing more news about that on Spitfire. It's free to subscribe. You can also get like paywalled stories for $5. And other than that, I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Instagram, and those are like my two main social media platforms, both at cat.tenbarge.
Oh my God. So I have forced you to return to Twitter whenever I would DM you there.
I still have to look at Twitter because it's like I still have to know what people are saying. So
yeah, I know. That's how I feel now, where I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be here, but I'm here because now this is my job.
Exactly.
Well, that's very exciting. So you have some pieces coming up, and then you will be joining. You will be joining the content creation.
I'll see you in the mines.
I'll see you in the mines. We will be certainly looking for your YouTube videos and watching them here on the stream.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else before you gotta go? Any last parting words?
This has been very thorough. I guess the last thing I'll say is just like the fact that like with Amber Heard, there was no one, like so few people being willing to even present a counter narrative. So I do feel like even having a few like smaller dedicated people makes a big difference. And I do see that trajectory like turning around.
Yeah. I was not a content creator, but I honestly think if I were and I had to come up against this, I think I literally would have quit. Yeah. I don't think I would have survived.
No, totally.
I think I would have started streaming and been like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. I'm out. But I also think use that anecdote of when you talk to people in your real life, it is easier to pick through, right? To dissolve the misinformation that they've consumed by scrolling on Facebook. When you go, actually, XYZ, blah, 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 it's just that you're going to be able to have an easier time with correcting misinformation in that regard than you are in the comment section of a Twitter post.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we still sometimes try, but yeah. Yeah. All right, Kat, it was so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone say bye. Say thank you to Kat. Go follow her. She is amazing. Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you so much.
And so fun. I'll see you next time.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, you guys. Wowie. That was an hour and a half, and that flew by. That flew by. What's happening here? Okay, I don't know what's going on in chat. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope y'all enjoyed that conversation. I certainly did. I think Kat she's just so good. She's so good. Her writing is so good. And she's a really, really important voice out there. So always appreciate having her on. Just, shitters. It's funny because whenever I host someone on Zoom, I kind of am keeping an eye. Also, I meant to say, whoever brought up, yes, thank you. So there is brigading and then there's juicing. Now I understand brigading is negative. Brigading is go attack this person, go attack this post, versus juice, which is like, hey guys, here's my tweet. Can you juice this? Where it's not causing harm to someone. So not all important to know the difference between those words. Marvelous Tuna, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys supporting this stream and also supporting truly independent journalism. So I know it can get tough because it can all stack up. But for the price of an avocado toast, you can subscribe to at least 3 Substacks, or maybe a Twitch streamer, maybe a Substack. Are you gonna watch the new Ginny and Georgia season? I didn't watch season 1, so I'm not really for the most part, a Netflix show watcher, with exceptions.
But if you are excited for the new Ginny and Georgia season, I'm excited for you. Will Neff. I like how I'm like, hey guys, support the channel. Will Neff. Man, I was saying earlier about how people online who believe you to be trapped by an evil woman, and that evil woman being me, how very correct they are. That is true. Will is does not have agency, is not making his own choices. I have trapped him like the evil shrew that I am. And I force him to listen to, 'cause his name is Obama. Barack Obama. He'll charm the pants off your mama. Over and over again. I chain him to a wall. I chain him to a wall, and I just have that on repeat. 'Cause his name is Obama. Barack Obama. And he's just tears streaming down his face. Man, sometimes people online, they do get it right. They do. Okay, all right. Brigading you were sent to fuck up the Oh, yeah. Lights of a Dawn, thank you for the 3 months. Thank you. See, chatter, you prove my point. I just want to see the reaction. I don't really care about DEI one way or the other. What a strange mind, though. What a strange mind you have, being in this world going, I don't really care about anything. I just want to see how people react when I say this thing that people say all the time because their intent is to harm social progress. It's like, I don't care about it. I don't have an opinion on it. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't matter. I just want to see how people react. It's like, who are you? What is the purpose? What is your purpose in this life? Yeah, but you do go around and repeat it. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe it or not. You are still repeating it online. You know? Okay, let's see what time it is. 'Cause his name is Obama. I'm so sorry. Now it's stuck in my head. Oh no. Shit. I have to. I gotta jump on a call in like 20 minutes. So I won't be able to finish this video, but I do want to finish this video. Sean Spears video. If you don't know Sean Spears, they are a YouTuber. They are a YouTuber who I really like their stuff. And this is the video that we were in the middle of watching. So we might.
But is.
Oh, I have no cam. Hold on a second. Wait. Excuse me. Pardon me. They make great video essays. You know, if I ever get banned off Twitch, maybe I'll be in my video essay girly era. You guys, I did not even realize I didn't have my vid. Oh, wait, where's the Gremlo clip? Somebody send it to me. Someone send me the Gremlo clip now that I'm done. You'd make awesome video essays. Thanks. I think it would be a learning process. I think I'd really have to lock in and study the art of the video essay. And I certainly wouldn't know how to edit it myself, but I really love and appreciate a video essay. You only get banned for watching award shows, so you're probably not going anywhere. Yeah, well, if there's ever a world where let me just say, if there's ever a world, which would be a very stupid world.
Yeah.
Which would be a very stupid world. But if there's ever a world where politics is banned off Twitch, just remember, I am not a political commentator. I am a pop culture justice warrior. Okay? I'm a pop culture justice warrior. That is what I am. Thank you for.
Yeah,
thank
I
you
would
for saying
never.
that. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I would never. Yeah. Yeah, I would never do that, okay? I would never, like, pretend that, no.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
Was he about to put?
It's crazy.
Was he about to put the
That's
fist up?
silly, you know? Why would I do that?
I cannot fuck with him anymore. I cannot.
Wow.
Oh
Wow.
God.
Wow. You hate to see it. You hate to see.
Now this is being turned into doesn't fuck with Gremlo because he's ginger. Hates Gremlo and Will Neff because they're gingers, which then only furthers the belief that they are being discriminated against, that they are marred, that they are oppressed.
EOC couple doing inter-race infighting. You hate to see it.
God damn it.
Wow.
Not the ginger oppression.
Yeah, so much for progressive. So much for inclusivity. So much for
Oh my
intersectionality.
God.
You know
Someone,
what?
Falcon wrote, as a fellow ginger, I'm going to align with the ginger streamers against Caroline Kwan. Are you fucking kidding me?
Get behind me, Will.
Get behind me, Will. See, this is why I preemptively was like, I know that this is Will saying this and linking himself in Gremlo, but I preemptively also now no longer fuck with Gremlo. I'm with him. See? This is why, you know what? I am going to become now the oppressor of gingers. Okay? That's what I have been forced into this role. I have been forced into this role where now I have to do this. I must. I don't want to, but they made me do it. They do. I am going to create a ginger phobia.
Unfortunately.
I am going to create an environment that is all ginger phobia. The best way to press Will would be to... Oh, trust. I will be relentless in Barack-a-laka Obamaing this house. Because his name is Obama. Barack-a-laka Obama. He'll charm the pants off your mama. Like, that just slaps. Okay, I gotta go. That's it. Somebody get her out of here. Somebody get her out of here. I may or may not pop back on later tonight. To just fuck around. I don't know. Depends. We'll see. We shall see. But otherwise, I hope that y'all have a good day. We are going to finish the Sean Spear video another day because I really didn't get that far into it. And I shall see you the next time that I see you. Which, who knows? In the meantime, there's a new Let Me Know podcast episode out. I forgot. It's Thursdays. It's Let Me Know days. Let Me Know days. Very exciting. So if you're like, damn, I wish she had streamed longer. Well, you can go listen to Let Me Know. Welcome to my clip channel, your debut. Okay, let's go. This is what we need. Hello, this is the Caroline Kwan Clips Palestinian creator. It is not lucrative. Support the Queen, free Palestine. Against forms of oppression. for me does not result in a windfall of money, and instead has actually hurt me. Isn't
So
that
this idea-
how crazy is that statement? Of
being
advocating against oppression has caused me financial harm.
pro-Palestine is a grift.
Okay, anyway, the raid is about to send. Thank you. I'll see you